3.
1, 2, 3.
I think it was a good game.
You had a couple of big plays.
Oh, man, Yossi scores!
The game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
And welcome into the Friday edition of Robby and Rexrode. Today, it is Rexrode and Vingan. And Knezovic, of course, as always. I'm Joe Rexrode, and I'm Vingan in for Robby today. Michelle running the show.
Back in. Unfortunately, Robby has to be out. And I know everybody's looking forward to hearing Robby, but I will do my best to fill his big shoes.
Well, today's a day that I would say would be appropriate to complain about the Nashville Predators. So this timing isn't all that bad. Michelle, how the heck are you doing?
I'm doing great this morning, guys. I have Louisville Twitter enraged at me.
Yeah, that's so you just decided randomly to just say Louisville should hire Chris Beard.
Okay, first off, never said
Why?
should. No, I didn't say should. I didn't say should. People
said
took
they
that
will.
tweet. No. I said early prediction.
Okay.
I could see Beard to Louisville.
Yeah.
It was just a called shot prediction. A strand thought. Whoa, I got crucified. Some people
Well, they're
were
mad
like,
anyway, you know.
Some people were like, oh my gosh, I wish. And then it was wild. Louisville Twitter found me, and they're like, "Oh, she's a Kentucky fan." I'm like, "Oh gosh."
Oh yeah, the Kentucky grad talking. Get Louisville out of your mouth, Michelle. My goodness.
Yeah, that went 0 to 1,000 real quick.
Well, before we get into the Preds, actually, speaking of college hoops and coaches and whatnot, how are you doing with your first year post K there with your Duke Blue Devils there, Vingan?
It's been an up and down year. I'm typically not a blame the refs guy.
Oh boy.
But the ACC did say they screwed up at the end of the Virginia game.
They did screw them. Yeah, that was bad.
And I've already let our friend John Glennon know that they screwed up, and he knows too. He
Yeah.
knows deep down inside.
He does. Now Duke, I think gets a call or two here or there in their history. Possibly,
I don't know what you're talking
perhaps, maybe. So
We do
are you
have
happy with the successor, or are you okay? Like, is it going to be maintained? Is the program going to, stay Duke?
The most important thing, at least to me at this particular moment, is that Carolina is down worse than Duke is.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, actually, it's really interesting. To me, there's 4 blue bloods, like true blue bloods, which is Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas. I mean,
Kentucky's down the worst.
Relax.
Are they? I mean, Carolina's.
They're not great
It's
either.
close between those two, but yeah, all 3 of them. I mean, Kansas is the only one that's kind of maintaining the standard this year. But speaking of college hoops, by the way, we're going to have Casey Alexander on at 6:30 to talk about Belmont, which is having a heck of a year, has a huge game coming up against Drake. Like I said, we also have Jared Stillman at 7. So Jared, a day later, gets to relive his loss to me and Jared versus Joe. And then we'll have TD, as always, Tron Davenport at 8 o'clock, talk NFL and Titans. And if you'd like to get in on this, get in on the phone or text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615. Seriously. 737-1025. See? Me on microphone 1. My gosh. All right, let's get into what we saw last night. So you, Adam Vingan, speaking of Jared Stillman, you had, as you called it, a mandate.
Yes, a man space date.
You chose, man-date.
Yes.
You reached out and said, I'd like to go to the Preds-Bruins game with Jared Stillman, which I think is just fascinating. Is this like a scientific experiment?
You know what's
What
funny?
was the experiment? Before we get into the game, which
Yes.
is 5-0 Bruins, and we'll talk about it a lot, what was the experience like of, just hanging with Jared at a hockey game?
It was like having your own private Jared and Stillman and Company from 2 to 6. The the funniest part about it was actually, I think it was during the first intermission. We were walking the concourse because I was going to get something to eat, and someone came up to us randomly and said, "I thought you two hated each other," based on like our interactions with each other on Twitter. And I was like, "No, we just like to bust each other's chops. We're friends." But like, it was not unlike listening to the radio from 2 to 6, but it was just for an audience of one. No, I had a good time. I appreciate Jared taking me to the game. I wanted to see the Bruins. I wanted to see a actual hockey team at Bridgestone Arena.
Oh boy.
And I think that's what we saw last night. It was ugly. It was ugly.
Yeah. 5-0. You know, you've got some mistakes. You've got the dominant team in hockey. And, you know, you've got, to me, UC Saros, I didn't have much of a chance on most of those goals. I mean, he's hung out to dry. A lot of neutral zone turnovers, odd man rushes coming off that for Boston. Bad power play again for the Preds. But yeah, that last goal, by then it's garbage time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got to say, I didn't think the effort was spectacular on that play.
No.
The D zone coverage, but just in terms of, we understand it's a mismatch. That's a game that you aren't surprised to see the Preds lose. The game they can't lose is the one before it. But just body language, energy, intensity, all that. Where did you think that was last night for the Nashville Predators?
I think it was, I thought the first period, the Predators, I thought, did an okay job. The shot counter, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was lopsided in favor of the Bruins, and that goal that Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron combined on was a thing of beauty. The second period is where it really got out of hand, and that was my first Predators game in attendance this season, which is weird for me to say in mid-February, considering how many games I obviously used to attend. But watching the team in person, and I understand that the Bruins are a machine. There is a reason why they are on pace to have the best regular season in NHL history in terms of wins and points, I believe. But the discrepancy in talent between the two teams last night was, to use a favorite word of mine, cosmic. It was, I think it was Jared likened it to, how if you have a minor league baseball team in town, usually before the season starts, they'll host their major league club to play an exhibition game at the minor league stadium.
Right.
That's what it felt like. The Predators did not belong on the same ice surface as the Boston Bruins. And I don't know how anybody who watches the Predators, whether you're an impartial observer or a partial observer, can watch this team and think of it as anything other than what it is, and that is painfully mediocre at best. They could be slightly worse than mediocre, but I did the math before we came on the air. So they have 30 games left. I think they have 56 points. So that would mean so last season they made the playoffs with 97 points. They were they had the fewest points of any team to make the playoffs last season. So
yep.
in order to get back to 97, they would need 41 points over their final 30 games, which is a 112 point pace over a full 82 game season. In terms of wins, I would say they probably need to win somewhere between 18 and 20 of their final 30 games to make the playoffs. Not happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
It would take – look, I do – I'm trying to think back to 2 years ago. It wasn't quite that desperate, but it required a heck of a run for them to get in, and they made it.
I think they went 27-1 in the second half of the 56-game season to make the playoffs. Like 2-0-7-1, not 27.
Well, that's great memory on your part. So basically, that's exactly what they need to do again.
And that was a lightning in a bottle type thing. And there is, to me, and I know I am prone to hyperbole, as you know, To me, the next few weeks leading into the March 3rd trade deadline needs to be the beginning of the dismantling of the Nashville Predators. I don't know how David Poile and his front office staff can watch what they watched last night and think this team has, one, any chance of making the playoffs, and two, if they somehow make it in, have any chance of doing anything of significance. Quite frankly, if I'm a member of ownership at that game last night, it was a significant portion of Bruins fans in that building last night. Like, it was loud for Boston. If I'm ownership and I'm watching my building being overrun by visiting fans and watching my team get its butt kicked, I'm embarrassed. And honestly, that's how I would feel if I was a member of ownership right now. And I think that's how David Poile should feel watching this team. It is not a good product at all. Like, it was. I'm not saying this team quit or anything like that, but it was painful to watch last night just how wide the gap is between the best teams in the league and the Nashville Predators.
Well, and the interesting thing about that, of course, is go look at preseason predictions. On paper, I would say these teams were regarded actually somewhat similarly going into the year. You know?
The Bruins were down a little bit, and they fired Bruce Cassidy, and you weren't sure what was going to happen with Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci. But
everything has gone incredibly well. Best case was so many, and obviously Pasternak is just ridiculous this year.
And he didn't even score last night.
Yeah.
And this is how I felt about the game. So Jared's seats are on the side where the Predators attacked twice. So when the Bruins scored their first goal, it was in the opposite direction. So I think it was Matthias Ekholm had the shot that went wide that rimmed around the boards, and Marchand broke down the left wing boards. And before he even crossed the red line, I knew they were going to score. I saw Bergeron cutting down the center of the ice. I was like, there's no way they're not scoring on this play. And it was a thing of beauty. And we talked about how well this team was playing, the Predators, that is, after leading into the All-Star break. They are 1-3 since returning from the break. They've been outscored 15-5. They were handled quite easily by Vegas. They had to beat the Flyers in overtime by only scoring 2 goals, and they lost to one of the worst teams in the league. So if this stretch is telling you what you need to know about the Nashville Predators, then I don't think you need to see anything else. This team is bad. We'll
continue the discussion on the Nashville Predators. Lots of thoughts already on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Get ready for the power of Godsmack on their new world tour with special guest I Prevail, May 23rd, First Bank Amphitheater. Featuring songs from their new album, Lighting Up the Sky. On sale now. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com.
Hey, it's Jared with my friends at Hiller. Kick off the new year with new upgrades for your home. This month, when you buy something you need for your home, Hiller will give you something you want. Pick your prize. Get a free 55-inch TV, Apple iPad, Solo Stove, or Nintendo Switch when you purchase new whole home generators or select new HVAC systems. Or a free 55-inch TV, Nintendo Switch, or Solo Stove when you upgrade to a new tankless water heater. There's no better time to take care of necessary home replacements, so call Hiller. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Mid-State Sports League spring registration is now open. Adults can register for softball, sand volleyball, soccer, kickball, flag football, and basketball. With the largest leagues in Nashville, there's a league for everyone. For more information about youth or adult sports, visit midstatesports.com.
Golfers, tee it up this Thursday through Sunday at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the tailor-made launch event. Get fit for the new Stealth 2 Woods, which combines speed and forgiveness to unlock forgiveness. Try the new Stealth HD irons that deliver high launch with draw bias to give you the confidence to expect better shots more often. Go to worldwidegolfshops.com and reserve your free custom fitting experience happening this Thursday through Sunday. Edwin Watts Golf Shops. Unmatched expertise, unmatched service.
Hi, I'm Steve Lehman. Belmont Basketball is the best sports entertainment value in Nashville. Join us. Get your tickets at BelmontBruins.com. Belmont Basketball. It's Bruin time.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I mean, they had the early goal, and then, I thought early in the first period our execution was not close to what it needed to be. I thought we turned pucks over at the offensive blue line. We didn't have ice to play on. I thought our power play was ineffective early. That gives you a chance to be able to have some pushback in the game, and, that was the extent of the first period.
That was John Hines after last night's 5-0 loss to the Nashville Predators to the Boston Bruins, best team in the league, and showed that there's a huge gap between the Bruins and the Preds. Welcome back, Robby and Rexrode here at the Game Studio, sponsored by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Adam Vingan in for Robby Stanley today. So, Adam, okay, we've established it was a bad performance by the Preds. That was a glimpse of here's the best in the league and here's where you are. So you came away from this more, this is just the state of, these rosters, then the Preds intangibly are in trouble right now. Is that fair to say?
It was both.
Okay.
I mean, I think 2 nights earlier the Bruins were in Dallas. They won, I believe, 3-2 in overtime. That was a tight game, which shows you that the Stars, who are, I believe, at the top of the Western Conference, are a good team. They played well and held their own against the top team in the league. And then, as I said before, you play a team much further down the standings in Nashville if you're Boston, and you have your way with them. So it was a mixture of both. It was clearly the Bruins are a wagon. And the Predators are down bad.
Wow, both two very cool expressions, like cool young hip expressions by you there.
I haven't gotten into that point yet where I've been a dad for a year and a half now, but I'm still cool.
Right, yeah.
I'm not
don't
making
worry.
bad dad jokes.
You'll morph into those bad dad jokes soon enough. Don't you worry, my friend.
Yeah.
Will in Kentucky on the text line driven by WellsCountyHoney.com. Trade everyone. He got this in at 6:01 a.m. Trade everyone you can. Coach, GM, Jim the concessions guy. This team is garbage. Crying, laughing emoji. Someone asked if you had to take Tylenol pregame to before hanging out with Jared. Are we still in a competitive rebuild or nah? Brandon says, I was hoping to wake up to the headline, Predators fire John Hines. So let's talk about that, because I think you and I have talked a little bit about this, just between ourselves. Firing a coach, I can't recall a mid-February firing of like mid-season. You see that sometimes. You saw Laviolette in early January, right, 3 years ago. I guess anything's possible. I suppose that the Preds just totally nosedive. I mean, I guess you could keep everything on the table, but I'd be really surprised if there was any in-season move on John Hines. What about you?
Yeah, I would be too. And as you said, it's not just a coaching change this late in the season. It's a coaching change for a team that technically, I emphasize the word technically, is still in the playoff race. I feel like if you're a team that's, very much out of it at this time and you want to fire a coach, I think that makes more sense. I have a hard time seeing something happening in season, and I know that typically when new coaches get fired in the NHL, the team, as Jared likes to say, gets a bit of a sugar high and plays well, that's something else that Jared and I talked about. I'm not convinced that even if they did make a coaching change, if that sugar high actually did work, it would still be enough for them to make the playoffs. Like I'm not convinced that a coaching change would get this team back into the playoffs. So.
Are you convinced that a coaching change, is a good idea, is needed? I mean, how much do you put of this season on John Hines?
Well, this is always a difficult conversation to have because I think there are so many factors at play. Because when David Poyle said at the end of last season that he felt like he had not given John Hines a good enough roster to compete, I agreed with him, and I think you did too.
Absolutely.
I agreed with that. I thought that John, for the most part, had made the best out of a bad situation. This season, I feel less that way, for lack of a better phrase. I just think that if this team misses the playoffs for the first time in 8 or 9 years, they haven't missed the postseason since 2014. And for everybody listening out there, I'm going to nip this in the bud on the text line. The NHL does consider the qualifying round as a postseason appearance. So that is why I include it as a postseason appearance.
Nip it in the butt.
Nip this in the what?
Bud.
Okay.
I said bud.
I thought he said butt, too.
No, I said
like,
bud.
Oh, my God, we have issues.
I don't have the, what's that, malpropisms? Is that the word when you is that the term for when you...
That's a hell of a word.
When you
especially at 6:21 a.m.
Yeah, anyway.
I don't know. I just know Joe and I made eye contact because we thought
I
you
said
that.
bud. I said bud.
Okay, very good.
Anyway, if they missed the postseason for the first time since 2014, I can't imagine. I can't imagine they can justify bringing John back. I really can't.
Yeah. Well, but see, then I'm going to return to I'll just be a broken record. Well, then, so you can justify though. David Poyle keeps his job and fires a coach and hires another coach. I mean, and honestly, I don't want to spend a ton today on Poyle and Hines and their job statuses because it really is just at this point, we don't know. Based on what we know from ownership, David Poyle is going to be the GM as long as he wants to be the GM, right?
Yes.
But I'm just saying, that to me is how could that be justified? That's harder to justify than just the idea of just John Hines losing his job.
Oh, yeah. I understand that. In a normal situation, I think the general manager would also be on the hot seat. But I think ownership, based off the comments they made last year when Bill Haslam was being announced as entering the ownership group, that they're going to let David Poyle do this as long as he wants. And the question I have for you, and I was thinking about this last night, is how much do you think, if at all, how much do you think the way things have been going over the past few years has in any way impacted David Poyle's legacy among the fan base?
Yeah, well,
because I don't think it's helping at all.
No, it's not. I mean, obviously, look, they're just, if you look at the GM job in pro sports, obviously there are some great GMs, and some of them have a great tenure, and then it's a happy ending, and they just retire when they want to retire, and yay. But for the most part, pro sports is cyclical, and so you have a downturn, and then people lose their jobs, and you have new people come into those jobs. That's just how it works in pro sports, right? So, I feel like the long-term Predators fan, whenever David Poyle is done as GM here, however that happens, whenever that happens, I do think his legacy will be very good. I do. But, yeah, I think at least in the moment here, because of how things have gone, there are bad feelings about him from fans. I mean, I think fans are upset, and look, they have every right to feel that way. I mean, it's just been a lot more bad than good since the Cup run, and it's led to what they are right now. So, but as far as legacy, I actually think that when it's look, let's go back to the late great Floyd Reese, and I can't, I wasn't here in town when his tenure ended, but obviously it was like this power struggle with Jeff Fisher and all this stuff, and things took a downturn and all that, right? But to me, he was still a beloved guy in town because people recognize he built the best teams that franchise had ever had, and also he was a very likable person, right? And so I do think that when people step back, there'll be a lot of love for David Poyle in this town. But it's just that right now, these fans pay a lot of money to go watch this team, and they're mad. I think it's clear right now, Preds fandom just the anger level, anxiety level, angst level, a lot of alliteration there, is all-time high for what I've seen. I mean, I got Joel in the text line saying we are witnessing a complete franchise collapse in 2022-23, and he has a long text about all the things that have gone wrong. So to answer your question, I think ultimately it will be fine, but it might be ugly, until something changes, something they get better, or David Poile isn't the GM anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if David. I mean, I don't know if David truly understands how upset this fan base is at him specifically, but about the team in general. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that David has been doing this for a very long time. He knows how these things ebb and flow, but I just don't get the sense that they truly comprehend the team. Not the players, the coach, the entire organization. I don't know if they truly comprehend just how fed up a significant portion of their fan base is with how this thing is going. I just think there is a disconnect between how the organization feels things are going and how the fan base thinks things are going.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know that.
I know. I don't know that either.
To some extent, you have
feeling I have.
Yeah, to some extent, you have to. I think with ownership in particular, and look, like Herb Fritch and some of the stuff he said. I mean, look, he fed into it was good he talked, right? But he fed into the perception that this is not your typical pro sports setup, and that this is like a lifetime appointment for David Poile. And so when you have this mediocrity that extends, and it's very frustrating to watch this team kind of, just go in circles, then the upset level rises. We are going to return to the Preds soon. We're going to start getting into some possible solutions. But coming up next, we are going to talk about a team that's doing very well in town, the Belmont Bruins men's basketball. Casey Alexander will join us next on Robby and Rexrode 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
It's Family Leisure's President's Day sale.
Wait, President's Day?
Well, it's in honor of all our presidents, and it means great deals for everyone.
Okay, like what?
Well, pools and spas for one. Family Leisure has the largest selection and guarantees the lowest prices anywhere, even compared to the internet.
What about grills and grill islands?
Of course, everything is on sale for 4 days at Family Leisure, even the smokers, grills, and grill islands. But I am more excited about the patio furniture. The new styles are arriving, and there are still great deals on the remaining floor models.
Wow! Great prices, great selection, and guaranteed lowest prices. Sounds like a great time to shop Family Leisure.
That's right, a 4-day only sale at Family Leisure, just in time for spring.
Family Leisure, both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try some of our new menu items like the Nashville Hot Fish and Chips, Nathan's Hot Dog Burn Ends, or the Nashville Chicken Jam Band. Go Preds.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
The Nashville Sheriff is hiring correctional officers. Earn $52,500 after paid training and probation. Positions are available immediately. You must be 21 and over with a high school diploma or GED. Come, join our family. That's $52,500 with great benefits. Apply now at sheriff.nashville.gov/apply or call 615-862-8170. Earn $52,500. Stop searching. Apply now. The Nashville Sheriff.
You look at yourself in the mirror every day and you can't deny it anymore. Your hair is not as thick as it used to be, and it's making you feel self-conscious. Hair Club is here to save the day. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair and feel confident again. No matter what stage of hair loss, they can help. Hair Club can customize a solution just for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase.
Stop! Are you about to pay too much for new furniture? Then you need to come by Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue in Nashville. Their President's Day sale is going on now. You can buy your new furniture today and get it today, but you do not have to pay today. During Social Furniture's President's Day sale, they have special financing for up to 60 months with no money down. Sectional sofas, mattresses, dining sets, bedroom sets, and more are up to 50% off. At Social Furniture, they say yes, yes, yes.
Can't get enough Vanderbilt basketball?
Intercepted right all by himself for a one-hand flush.
Your home for the Commodores is 93.3 Classic Hits.
Put it up. It's good. Count it.
Join Coach Jerry Stackhouse and his team on their journey through the SEC.
Pulls a trigger. Yes, from three.
Check out Vandy Hoops on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Hey, this is Matthias Ekholm. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode. Adam Vingan in for Robby, and very excited to welcome in our next guest. Belmont basketball this year, the Missouri Valley Conference. I thought a rebuilding year of sorts for Belmont, and you're going to the MVC, very tough league. And here they are, 19-9, 12-5 in the league, a game out of first. Huge game coming up this weekend at Drake. We're very happy to welcome in Casey Alexander. Casey, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing well. So, I was totally wrong. I was like, yeah, it's just not great timing for Belmont, with the fantastic veterans who, of course, were done last season and, moving to the MVC. And look at you guys now. Is there any level of surprise on your end that you guys have had the season you've had, Casey?
Oh, gosh, I would hesitate to call it a surprise. I had all the same concerns that you did. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we just lost so many important pieces, all of our leadership, all of our scoring, all of our experience, and then definitely with you combine that with moving to a tougher conference. We had a lot of questions. There's, and a completely blank slate, not knowing how it would turn out. So, and it took us a while. We weren't a very good team early in the season either. But it's come together pretty nicely. Still got some work to do. Got a really tough finish here with these last three games.
So Ben Shepherd is a guy who, from the jump, I mean, you could see he could be a special player. I've thought, this is a guy who is going to make money somewhere, a lot of money playing basketball someday. He's a tremendous talent, but it seems like everything has come together for him. I mean, 19-3 a game. He's giving you five. He's leading your team in rebounding. He's got 87 assists. He's shooting 42% from three. What has happened with Ben, and also not just being a great player, but is he the guy stepping into the leadership void? Like who has done that this year for the Bruins?
Yeah, well, he's carried the lion's share of all of those roles for sure. He is, the consistency with which he's played, his versatility, and his ability to accomplish those numbers. Really being our go-to guy from day one, and that being a completely new role for him. He had a great season last year. He's an all-conference player. But he was playing with Nick Muszynski, who was an all-conference player for 4 years. Grayson Murphy, who was an all-conference player for 4 years. Both of those guys are record holders at Belmont, so he could fly under the radar a little bit. What he's done this year and his numbers across the board, I mean, his percentages, his efficiencies, the improvements he's made as a ball handler and playmaker and finisher, and all the while being, as you mentioned, our senior leader, kind of the one guy that we knew we could count on and we were going to have this season. He's delivered in every way from beginning to end.
So now that you've been in, I'm trying to think. At this point, you've played everyone now? Is that right? You've played everybody at least once?
We have not played. We play everybody twice throughout the season, except for two teams. We only played at SIU. They do not come to Belmont, Southern Illinois. And then we did not play at Indiana State. They come to Belmont, and we have not played Indiana State yet. That will be our next and last home game next Wednesday.
Right. So that's senior day, Wednesday, 6:30 at the Curb Center. So okay, so that's the last team that you haven't seen. But for the most part, and that's a very good team too. I mean, you've got a logjam here, Southern Illinois in there, but of course, Drake, who came in here and beat you earlier. You're going to their place. Bradley, fantastic win there. So basically, you've seen almost all the league. Is it about what you expected? Like, what are your impressions from this first year going through tremendous basketball conference?
Yeah, it has been probably everything that I expected and maybe a little more. Just the difficulty from 1 to whatever there is, 12, is significantly different than what we're used to. If we don't show up and play well in this league, we're just not going to win the game. And so having to prepare that way and play that way over the course of a 20-game conference season, which is a lot of conference games, has been a change. But it's been really exciting. This is a much more defensive-minded league. Tempo is slower than what we were used to playing in. It's incredibly physical and allowed to be that way. We've got the best of the best referees in this league, but that also means they're Power 5 guys, and they let you play. So that was a big learning curve for us. But it's been fun. I mean, I think it's a great move for Belmont. We've got to get better as a program. We've got to get better in a lot of ways in order to sustain any level of success. But it's really a fun league. It's a basketball-centric league. People love their teams in this league. Really good home venues, really good crowds. So it's been quite a change.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of awesome environments in this league, no doubt. And the tournament coming up, I mean, that's a CBS national championship game. I mean, this is obviously there's a lot of great things about being in this league. So have you mentioned in that physicality, Casey? Have you had to adjust at all just the way you guys play?
We haven't changed as far as X's and O's or strategy, but we've had to get a lot better on both ends of the floor. I mean, offense has not come as easily. You're not it's not as easy to get in and out of screens. It's not as easy to finish around the rim just because of the size difference, physicality difference, and then things just being able to go. And that's kind of always been our end of the floor. In the games that we've lost, we've had a miserable time offensively. In the games that we've won, we've looked a little bit more like our true Belmont selves historically. So, so we've made changes as we go for sure.
And we always talk about college basketball. I know for anyone coaching in college sports right now, massive changes have happened. The portal has taken away from your program, but this year you've got Keyshawn Davidson, of course, from Tennessee Tech, but also Drew Freiberg. I know for you to have like sort of that 4 guy who can pick and pop is always a big thing. How big have those 2 guys been, and just where are you right now on everything? With college, is it any better? Is it just as chaotic as it was when all this stuff started?
It's definitely as chaotic as it was, and I don't think it's getting any better, and I don't think it will get any better for a while. We might get more used to it, but I don't think it's going to get any better. I'm not a fan of the changes, but I also live in reality and know that we've got to understand that the portal is here to stay and NIL is here to stay, and we've got to make the adaptations that are necessary in order to be relevant. But you just make the most of it. We lost 2 guys at the end of our season last year to the portal. That's a very unfamiliar territory for Belmont. Our retention has been as good as anybody's in the country over the last 10, 15, 20 years. And so to replace 2 out of our best 3 players that were supposed to come back from the portal was a challenge. And we got a little bit different players, but you mentioned Drew Freiberg. I mean, we knew that Shepherd was going to be able to give us some scoring, but we had to have a complementary piece and somebody that could stretch the defense. And Drew Freiberg from Preston has definitely been that guy from the very beginning. He's been near 50% from the 3-point line all season long. Very smart player, very high basketball IQ. So he has fit our team extremely well and been a really important piece for us. Keyshawn Davidson has had his moments, but he had a really significant injury 3 days before our season started, and so we missed our first 6 or 7 games. It took him another 6 or 7 or 10 just to get back in the flow of things. So we haven't gotten the season that we all expected from him. He's still dealing with an injury, shoulder injury, but he's still been a really important piece to our team and where we are today.
And then Cade Tyson has been fantastic as a freshman. Obviously, you needed that, right? You needed some newcomers that come in here, and he looks like he's maybe the next, Belmont long-term really good player. What's his freshman season been like? And I guess on top of that, Casey, is your recruiting area now different or expanded or enhanced because of being in the MVC?
Recruiting, has changed a while back. It's so summer league, summer team driven. Everybody wants to say it's AAU. It's not really AAU, but we can call it that just to keep it simple. But so you go to tournaments and you see teams from everywhere, and we've recruited, with a pretty far reach. Always. So this will make it easier to do that, but I wouldn't say it'll change things. I mean, I think our roster this year, I think we've got maybe 10 different states represented. I mean, we've got Iowa, we've got Illinois, we've got Pennsylvania, we've got Arkansas, we've got North Carolina. We've got them coming from a lot of different places. And Cade Tyson, the one you mentioned, I mean, he is having a phenomenal year. He makes a shot at the buzzer in our very first game, and he has double figures in that game, and he's never looked back. We knew he was a good player. We knew he would make a contribution, but you got to be a little hesitant with all freshmen, 5 stars, 4 stars. It doesn't matter how good they come in. It just doesn't always work the way that you think it's going to. They all advance at different rates. But Cade has been tremendously steady, really, really consistent throughout the season. He's earned it. I mean, the guy works really hard. A lot of people don't know, but his brother is Hunter Tyson, who plays for Clemson, who's probably in the running for ACC Player of the Year, and they're both really tough kids, smart kids. We're lucky we've got Cade, and you're right. I think he's going to be the next great player for us, if he keeps developing.
Casey Alexander, Belmont coach. It's Sunday at Drake. Huge game. That's at 3 o'clock. It's on the CBS Sports Network, and then Indiana State Wednesday at home for Senior Day at the Curb Center. Casey, hey, I really appreciate the time. Good luck to you guys this weekend the rest of the way.
Hey, thanks, Joe. I enjoyed it.
Casey Alexander, Belmont men's basketball. And when we come back, it'll be the best and worst in sports. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
This week at the Electronic Express President's Day sale, get instant savings of up to 40% off at every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't forget, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 36 months free financing. Shop the President's Day sales event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Lowe's always has more ways for you to save. On top of our everyday low prices, pros can save big when buying in bulk. Or if your purchase is over $1,500, ask about our volume savings program. A pro associate can provide a customized quote. Ask about our volume savings programs today. It always pays to be a pro at Lowe's. While supplies last, minimum purchase required. Selection varies by location. Lowe's reserves the right to limit quantities. Volume discount pricing quotes are valid up to 7 days. Visit your local pro desk to learn more and start saving. Offers subject to change and may not be available in all Lowe's stores.
Hello there. My name is Seychelle, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is the punch of flavors that's unlike any other. You get the crispy tenderness of the chicken and that hint of sourness from the pickles. Ta-da!
Hey, I'm Juan, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is you're gonna get chicken that's crispy, golden, and juicy. This is the gold standard of chicken sandwiches.
Order the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real customers paid for their testimonials.
One is smart.
This has just been a constant trend for this team.
One is funny.
That's right.
Funny looking, maybe. Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Everybody's listening.
Weekdays from 9 to 11. Presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. The best and worst of the sports week. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is time for the best and worst of sports. First, let me tell you real fast that moving's no fun, can be expensive. You can save in your next move with our Nashville's best deal of the week from Black Tie Moving. Get $200 off a half-day move for just $75 or $400 off a full-day move for $150 at the GameNashville.com/deals. Best and worst in sports. I always go first. Robby always lets me go first.
Let's let our guests go first.
Yeah, I think we should let our guests go first. Adam Vingan, your best and worst in sports this week.
Well, I am actually going to combine mine because I'm not sure exactly how I feel about this.
I've done that before. I get it.
It was announced last night, I believe, that Travis Kelce will be hosting Saturday Night Live next month. And why I say it's best and worst is there's I would say a fairly, I was going to say checkered, but I'm not sure that's right. The history of athletes hosting Saturday Night Live, it's a mixed bag. That's what I'm looking for. Like, my gut tells me that Travis Kelce might be pretty good at this, but I don't know. I can't determine if this is the best or the worst until after he actually hosts Saturday Night Live.
That's fair.
But I was thinking about the history of athletes who have hosted Saturday Night Live.
There's some really good ones.
To me, the GOAT of athlete hosting Saturday Night Live is Peyton Manning.
Yep.
Peyton,
agree.
the United Way skit he did several years ago is one of the funniest things I've ever seen, where he's playing football with the kids. Yes. And he's like pegging them with the ball and telling them to go stand in the porta potty because he's unhappy with them.
Right. Oh no, that was fantastic. He was great.
He's had other regular he's had some pop-up appearances. I think he did one a couple of years ago where he was talking about Emily in Paris on Weekend Update. Very, very funny.
That was like last year. Yes.
But here are some Hall of Fame worthy athletes who have hosted Saturday Night Live, because I think we would agree that at the rate he's going, Travis Kelce will probably be in the Hall of Fame, right? Yep. One of the greatest tight ends to play the game.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Gordon, Andy Roddick, Tom Brady, Lance Armstrong, Peyton Manning, LeBron, Michael Phelps, Charles Barkley.
See, it's funny because I don't remember a lot of those. Jordan was very good.
Jordan
was very good. He did Stuart Smalley. I'm good enough. I mean, that's going back. That's to me the golden
Wayne Gretzky hosted Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I remember his was. Yeah, it was kind of like
Deion Sanders.
Barkley was good too. But it's interesting. I don't remember a lot of those. That's a pretty good either or. I think Kelce, he's got a chance to be pretty decent. I think
people are just annoyed with him though right now. So the timing of it, because he's really
not in Kansas City.
Really though honing in on the Nobody picked us. I think he's trolling, though.
That might be my worst in sports, actually, is the Travis Kelce, nobody believed in us. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that we picked you to go 12-5 instead of 14-3.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yes, touch base with me in a couple of weeks after he hosts, because it could go one of two ways. But
Okay.
I think I'm leaning towards best. I think he has the sense of humor to make it work. So that's what I'll go with.
Sounds good. Michelle?
Okay, my best in sports this week, and it's so fitting that it's a little two-parter right here, because I always like to look at everything glass half full. So we'll do a little two-parter here and then a small worst. So my best in sports this week is kind of college basketball just as a whole. I have had 3 moments this week where I was not sitting down watching college basketball, but I happened to check my ESPN app or something, and I got to see the buzzer beater for the Missouri game, the Missouri-Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. Like, I didn't see any of the game. I just happened to turn my phone on, and I saw the last play, the buzzer beaters. And then last night, I was sitting at an establishment, and I turned my head, and I see Notre Dame women's basketball win on a buzzer beater against Louisville, which just gets me so incredibly excited for college basketball. The buzzer beaters, March, everything.
And Louisville losing, yeah.
Yeah, Tennessee. It was just great. It was awesome. And I also have to give a quick little shout out. Kevin Herter, known him his whole life. He just got picked to be in the 3-point contest with the NBA All-Star game. He was with Atlanta. Now he's in Sacramento. Just a great guy all around. So happy he gets the opportunity out there. My worst in sports is sports fans on Twitter seeing something and like not reading. Like, we as a generation, as adults, need to learn to listen and read again and not take things to the extreme, because I'm getting crucified on Louisville Twitter right now. But just read the tweet. I never said it should happen. I never said it's going to happen. I said I could see that happening. So let's just read. Let's just read it.
And to clarify for people who don't know, you said you could see Chris Beard being Louisville's coach next
Yes,
year.
because listen, I do not agree with any of, that is awful. But the unfortunate truth and the unfortunate reality is people in their past, he will get a job. That's the unfortunate. The charges have been dropped. The unfortunate truth is he will get a job. Do I think he should? No, but he will be a college basketball coach again. So
yes,
Louisville Twitter. Back off. And we will take Kenny Payne back in Kentucky as an assistant. Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. That'd be something. All right, well, my best actually is also college hoops related. Basically just college hoops. I mean, it was awesome to talk to Casey Alexander there. I mean, it's great what they're doing. Middle Tennessee last night beats ranked Florida Atlantic, which is a massive win for Middle Tennessee men's basketball. Middle Tennessee women's basketball, 14-2 in the league, controlling that league, 21-4 overall, a top 25 caliber team that could do a little damage there in the tournament. But like just in the past week, Vanderbilt under Jerry Stackhouse rolling right now. Huge game. I'm going to be actually tomorrow do a little double duty. Preds afternoon. Maybe get some food on the way over to the West End and do little Vanderbilt Auburn. I think Vanderbilt Auburn crowd tomorrow night has a chance to actually be kind of Memorial Magic-ish. Tennessee beats number 1 Alabama. Huge bounce back win, missing 2 key players. Big game tomorrow at Kentucky. So it's college basketball in general.
Stressed.
Is an easy best. Yes, that's a biggie. Worst is, I'm going to go back to it. I've seen so much excuse making and just spin on this. It was a crap call that decided the Super Bowl too early. It was a crap call. It was garbage. And I keep getting people sending me like these little still shots. Speaking of Twitter annoyances, I don't want to see your still shot of, oh, look, his arms on the jersey. His hands, I got the jersey. Yeah, that's a BS call. It was a BS call. It shouldn't have ended the Super Bowl, and that's that. And that's my worst in sports. Quickly, to get to the text line here, I had, let's see, worst in sports, according to Chris. The text line driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. Jared's shock jock approach To his argument, having a problem with the Chiefs saying no one picked them, saying everybody picked the Chiefs. When a quick Google search for preseason predictions, mostly all picked the Chargers win the AFC West. So, yes, the Chiefs weren't picked by most. I mean, I will say, look, I think almost all of NFL media, including I know I did this, I picked the Bills to win it all. So, from that perspective, it's kind of the same as Georgia. Everybody's picking Alabama this year. Everybody thought Bama was going to win it, not Georgia. But then they go to you picked us 6-6. Okay,
they picked us not to make the playoffs. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. So it gets hyperbolized. But you know, I mean, there was some truth to the idea. I had questions about the Chiefs without Tyreek Hill, for sure. And they answered emphatically. William from Madison, best thing in sports. College baseball starts today. Number 2, Tennessee. Number 10, Vanderbilt. So that is awesome. Thank you for submitting that, William. And when we come back, speak of the devil, we will have Jared Stillman here to talk with Adam Vingan and me on Robby and Rexrode 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You love the game.
Predators win it in overtime. Touchdown, Tennessee.
We live the game.
My quarterback needs me to step up.
He can make a defense pay.
We are.
1, 2, 3, 5.
I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Ghost Re-Imperator USA 2023. This Sunday night, Ascend Amphitheater. Ghost, presented by 102.9 The Buzz. Special guest, Elon Amarth. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Ghost, part of the Journeys concert series.
Do you own or operate a diverse small business? Expand your customer reach and access local procurement decision makers at the Nashville Area Chamber's Supplier Diversity Fair, sponsored by Truist. All diverse small businesses are invited. The fair begins at 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, February 28th at City Winery. Visit NashvilleChamber.com/events to register. That's NashvilleChamber.com/events. See you on the 28th at City Winery.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
They didn't call it all night, and they called that. That's what they called. Ruined a good Super Bowl last night for me. And I was rooting for the Chiefs. Now, I had picked the Eagles, but I was rooting for the Chiefs. I don't know why I was rooting for the Chiefs, but I was. And I find myself rooting for the Chiefs, and I thought Andy Reid was going to milk that clock on the last possession of the game. And here they go. They throw incomplete. So now I'm thinking, wow, Andy didn't have something special dialed up that was going to get him wide open for a first down to essentially get in the game. I was a little surprised by that. Oh, there's a flag. Oh, let's see the flag. And I'm expecting, if you're going to throw this flag in the Super Bowl at that point, I'm expecting a guy to get taken out. I mean, I'm expecting it to be bad. And I saw that.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, Maria in Miami, and Jules in Troy, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with high-quality supplies for every industry, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Your Game Center update.
The Boston Bruins shut out the Nashville Predators last night, 5-0 in Bridgestone. Head coach John Hines spoke on the loss after the game.
I mean, they had the early goal, and then I thought early in the first period our execution was not close to what it needed to be. I thought we turned pucks over at the offensive blue line. We didn't have ice to play on. I thought our power play was ineffective early. That gives you a chance to be able to have some pushback in the game, and that was the extent of the first period.
The Predators will have a quick turnaround as they host the Florida Panthers tomorrow at 1 p.m. in Bridgestone Arena. The Tennessee Vols are coming off a big win over number 1 Alabama and will head to Lexington for an early matchup in Rupp Arena tomorrow against Kentucky. Tip-offs at noon. This report is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezovic for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Yeah, it's hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode here with Adam Vingan in for Robby today, Michelle Knezovic, and we're very excited to bring in our next guest. He normally joins us on Thursdays this week. He's with us on Friday. Tough loss to me in Jared versus Joe. Now, Jared Stillman, PI, as I put in the grid here, Jared Stillman, PI, our private investigator, who has got the Titans hiring people so they can get intel on Aaron Rodgers. That was quite a take. Jared, how are you?
Good to be with you boys. Had a great time last night at the Predators game with Adam Vingan.
Yeah.
It was good to watch the game and catch up with Adam. And Hal Gill was busting my chops yesterday. Apparently I'm too negative on the Predators, though I'm not sure I can totally see the positive all the time. But Hal was busting my chops that I needed to watch the game. Hal lately has gotten, we've been interviewing Hal for 5 years, and he's gotten very into the you don't know the game card lately. And so I was glad that I was able to watch the game with somebody who undisputedly, I don't know if that's a word or not.
Indisputably, but you're fine. You're
indisputably knows the game like Adam does. So
thank
he
you.
had a blast last night watching the game with Adam.
So Hal, okay, I missed this with Hal. So Hal's doing the you don't understand hockey kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, having not heard that, I mean, I gotta say, I gotta, without knowing exactly the contents of that conversation, I think at this point, I would have to side with you a little bit more. I mean, it hurts to say it, but I mean, this team isn't very good right now. So tell me some of the insights you got from your mandate with Vingan at the Preds game last night.
I mean, I would say some of the insights I got is that the hockey team's not very good. And that I don't really think that, I mean, we can get technical with it. Adam would obviously be much better at that than I would be. But, I mean, I joked with Adam yesterday. I felt like I was watching the Nashville Sounds host the Yankees last night. And that's what I would expect the Sounds versus the Yankees to look like. I mean, if the Predators take a shot from the point and, fire one 8 feet wide of the net, and all of a sudden Brad Marchand comes down the other side at a 3-on-1 with Patrice Bergeron, drops it back to Bergeron, drops it back to Marchand, who puts it in the net. Saros never had a chance. And that was, I'm not going to say that was the whole night, because in the third period, the Bruins really packed it in. And I don't think, I said to Adam at one point, I don't know if I've seen David Pastrnak this entire period up 4-0 for the Bruins, and they still scored another goal. So, I mean, I think that last night it was the haves versus the have-nots. And I think at this point, I don't think anybody, David Poyle came on your show, earlier in the week and talked about not being a buyer and maybe being a seller. And I think we're at a point in time now where I don't even think the most optimistic Predators fan can believe can believe that this team is anything more than what they are, which is a fringe playoff team who may find less benefit long-term by making the playoffs than they would by missing the playoffs.
And I think, look, Jared and I, obviously, we agree on a lot of the things about the team. I think the one thing that we were talking about last night that we didn't necessarily see eye to eye on was the benefit of firing John Hines in season. As I talked about with Jared last night and you, Joe, earlier, I can't recall a coaching change this late in the season when a team is, let me emphasize this word again, technically still in a playoff race. Jared, as Jared likes to say, teams get a sugar high when they make a coaching change. I asked Jared last night, I said, do you think if they were to fire John Hines, they'd have enough of a sugar high to make the playoffs? He said yes. I said no. So I'd be curious for Jared to expand on that point, on why he thinks a coaching change made now would help the Predators make the playoffs.
Before he answers, Jared's tried to fire John Hines since day one.
I know.
But go ahead, Jared.
So a couple of thoughts here. First off, on the sugar high and everything. Sugar high comes when you fire the coach. I think we all know that. It's not, it's not like a long-term thing, but it is something that you fire the coach, it moves the room, and for the most part, the team starts playing at least a little bit better. And that is generally what happens. I think John Hines is such a bad coach that by bringing somebody else in, I've said this yesterday, if Carl Taylor at Milwaukee, the Admirals coach, if he's just not a bad coach, then you get an upgrade at coach immediately. So you go from bad coach to not bad coach. That is an improvement. Secondly, I think that the young players who, if you decide to sell or if you're being realistic about the season and you're going to say, look, Tomasino's development now becomes important. If you're going to focus on the young players, then John Hines is not the guy because he hasn't developed any young players on this team. Right now he's got Juuso Parssinen on the fourth line, and that's probably the best quote-unquote young player that they have right now. Tomasino has not developed well enough under Hines. Fabro has not developed well enough under Hines. They already got rid of Tolvanen because he wasn't developing under Hines. That's really not a good trip to the heart of your batting order of first-round picks. So I'm worried about the development of the young players. I'll bring up the Milwaukee coach, who I think is probably a better developer of young players than Hines is, who has no track record whatsoever of developing young players. That's the number one reason for me. Back to your point, though, about me wanting to fire Hines from day one. Let me just say this. I argued that when the Predators turned it around in that 2021 season, I argued that John Hines should have been in the discussion for the Jack Adams Award for Coach of the Year, because of the way they turned that season around. It has not been all bad as far as my takes on John Hines. But I almost feel like I'm the only person in the world who looked at the resume that John Hines walked in on and said, wait a minute, this isn't Gerard Gallant. This isn't Peter DeBoer. This isn't these coaches that were, being hired and fired around the same time that the Predators decided to dump on Peter Laviolette. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're dumping Peter Laviolette, and you're hiring this guy's got no resume. And David and the Predators are just trust us, just trust us, just trust us. And everybody trusted him except for me. And I was right.
Okay. First of all, see, this is where someone like Hal Gill gets frustrated with you because you have to take it. Oh, he's such a bad coach.
He's a bad coach.
He's such a bad coach.
He's a bad coach, Joe. How's he a good coach? Because last year he got 40 goals out of Matt Duchene.
Is he such a bad coach? Is he such a bad coach? So here's the thing. Again, you've done this consistently, and good for you if you were praising him in 21. I don't remember that, but whatever. You want to put way too much on him, and then it's like you're forgetting that the issue with this team is the roster. Again, I'm not saying John Hines is doing a good job this year.
Every time I say
but
Hines
such
is
a bad coach.
Every time I say Hines is a bad coach, you act like I am treating it as if it is mutually exclusive.
No, but you're also a spin doctor who doesn't mention Cody Glass, who doesn't mention Tanner Jeannot. There have been
That's because they're no good.
Okay.
They're no good.
Here we go. So
Cody
again,
Glass.
How many goals does he have?
Cody Glass.
Jared, you're hurting yourself, Jared.
You are going to try to say
this hyperbolic
between the two guys that you're. So I'm looking at my first round picks.
I'm
looking at the fact that
precious Peter Laviolette had Dante Fabro. Oh, the infallible Peter Laviolette had Ellie Tolvanen. So it's all on the other guy. It couldn't be Peter. Couldn't be that he, needed to be fired when he was fired.
I would argue that Ellie Tolvanen's lack of development is not Peter Laviolette's fault. that I would.
I'm just saying he had part of him. He had a couple years of him. So
didn't he have Tolvanen for like 2 weeks?
He was mostly in the AHL. I feel like
he brought him that on Laviolette.
Come on, he's this incredible developer of talent.
Back to the point I was making about like every time I bring up Hines, you automatically pivot to this. It's the roster. It's not Hines.
Well, it is.
And you treat it as if it is mutually exclusive, or that my criticism of the Predators has been only reserved for John Hines.
No, but
I have also not been the loudest voice in the history of the city of Nashville that has said that it is time for David Poile to pack it up and go.
So
I'm the one that was yelling at both of you guys 2.5 years ago that they needed to fire David Poile, and you two were like, I don't know if I'm going to write that column right now.
You want to fire everyone all the time. I know. Listen.
No, that's not it. I don't want to fire Mike Vrabel because Mike Vrabel's a good coach. I want to fire David Poile because he's a bad general manager and has been bad for the last 5 years. I want to fire John Hines because he's a bad coach and he has never won anything, and I am sick and tired of the Hals and the Willies telling me, look, I know John Hines has never won anything, but he's a great coach. How? Tell me. Give me an example.
Okay, so now if someone
other than Cody Glass.
Hold on a second. Now, if someone said great, I would also argue with that. I don't think that he's demonstrated great, but such a bad coach. Hyperbole. Listen, let me ask you this: would you rather this firing of John Hines right now and this sugar rush take place, or would you rather the Preds sell and start working on solutions right now and not worry about the coach and a sugar rush?
Why can't they do both?
What? So, let's get a sugar rush and then let's blow up the team. What are you talking about? It's not. I mean, you got to pick one or the other there.
Adam asked me if they were more likely to make the playoffs if they fired John Hines. I said yes because of the sugar high that comes from firing the coach. But that doesn't mean that my number one goal is to get that sugar high and win some games, because that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is the development of the young players. And I'm not talking about the young players who, have very limited ceilings. I'm talking about the young players that are supposed to be the dogs of this organization. The Philip Tomasinos, those kind of guys. That's my number one thing, because I am going to sell. And so when I sell, I am going to have a team of a bunch of young guys, and my number one thing is developing them. And I don't think Hines is the guy to do it. I don't think Hines has the track record that shows that he's developing young players. And I think the Ellie Tolvanen thing is a humongous black mark on John Hines' resume. And so that's the number one reason why I'm firing the coach. The question was, do I think they have a better chance of making the playoffs if they fire the coach? The answer is yes. I don't want them to make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, then they're going to excuse every mistake that they've made, and they're going to say, see, we're right there. We can compete with the best teams in the league, even though last night was a clear and obvious example that they cannot. And even they know it now. But if they were to make the playoffs, I think that would change their mind like it did 2 years ago and really ruined a lot of the potential progress that they could have made turning the page into the next chapter of Predators hockey. But as far as would I rather make the playoffs than sell off? No. Sell. I do not want to make the playoffs. If this team could make the playoffs and treat it like, say, Dallas did, where they made the playoffs, lost in the first round, and still fired people and moved on, and now you look at their organization, then I'd be fine with it. But the truth is, I know that if this team makes the playoffs with this management structure in place, they will use it as a data point to suggest that this team is better than they actually are.
Jared, we walked into the game together. We saw the amount of Bruins fans that were there, and we expected that. And, I mean, what did you make of the atmosphere last night? And if you are a member of the ownership group or the front office and you're seeing that atmosphere basically TD Garden South for the Bruins last night, what's going through your mind as you see that?
I think what would be going through my mind is, oh, my God, my home game has turned into a Vanderbilt SEC football game with a nicer stadium. Because it's like, Joe, and I know you love covering Vandy football, and I know that when Georgia comes to town or Alabama comes to town or Tennessee comes to town or, any of those teams come to town, like the true traditional, the original six of the SEC, when they come to town, we all know what that Vandy Stadium looks like. That's what it was yesterday at Bridgestone Arena, which we expected. I mean, there's a ton of Bruins fans in the market. Somebody told me that years ago they did some kind of survey. And when they did a survey, the Predators did, they were stunned to see how many local Boston Bruin fans there are. And the Bruins have been very good lately. And the Bruins, obviously an Original Six franchise, tons of history. Guys like Cam Neely and Bobby Orr and, some of the best players in the history of the NHL. So I don't think it's totally a shock. It kind of reminded me, there was a 2012 game before you guys were here against the Chicago Bears where the Titans got blown out and Bud Adams got on his plane at halftime because he was tired of watching it and told Jim Wyatt how mad he was. And the Chicago Bear fans had I think they forced Broadway out of beer that weekend, that there were so many Chicago Bear fans in town. Kind of felt like that. Maybe that's a little extreme, but if I owned the team, if I owned the team, things would be totally different. And maybe hard to say that it'd be for the worse, but maybe for the worse. But I think that everything that this team had built up, what I'm really worried about, and I say this as a fan more than anything else, what this team had built up, with the 17 run and the 18 President's Trophy, and even being competitive in 19 and not winning in the playoffs, and the anger that came from that first round playoff exit, what they had built up, I feel like is starting to kind of deteriorate down to where it was before all of that. And I don't like that. Not only as a fan do I not like that, but also as a broadcaster, I don't like it, because it's more fun when the team, is what people are buzzing about in the city. And right now, I think even for people that love the team, I think there's kind of this sense of, well, it's just going to be same old, same old. And that, I think, that to me, I think is really tough.
Never let anyone tell you Jared cannot bloviate. Thank you, Jared. Jared Stillman, 2 to 6 today. You can get more of that. Appreciate you.
See you guys.
And we will react to Jared and get into some Pred solutions. Let's start talking solutions. Robby and Rexrode, Adam Vingan in for Robby, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You can trek to the savannas of Africa. Wait on the magic moment on the Great Plains of North America. Or find the thrills of Patagonia. You can book your dream hunt at the SEI Convention, coming to Nashville for the very first time. Come find your adventure February 22nd through February 25th. It's the ultimate sportsman's market, a place for every hunter. And this year, it's happening Music City style, with sold-out performances by Big and Rich and Leonard Skinner. But you can still find your outdoor adventure and rock out with the frontman with Gretchen Wilson. It's a celebration of the outdoor lifestyle, February 22nd through February 25th. Come find your adventure. Just log on to safariclub.org. One more time, that's safariclub.org. This convention will sell out, so reserve your spot today. Come find your adventure.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a great escape. With 35 miles of white sand, there's no better place to get away. So let's explore the secluded beaches of Fort DeSoto or paddle our way around Honeymoon Island. Let's kick back, kayak, and catch crimson sunsets. Let's trade snow boots for bathing suits. Let's make today and tomorrow a beach day. Let's shine. Plan your escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
The National Wild Turkey Federation is celebrating 50 years of conservation delivery during this year's convention and sports show, set for February 16th through 18th at Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Come celebrate the golden anniversary with members, volunteers, partners, and countless outdoor enthusiasts. You can expect the same great nightly events, quality entertainment in the watering hole, and the latest gear from more than 450 companies featured in their exhibit hall. For more info, go to nwtf.org.
Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments so the first payment is not until summer of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
What's up, Nashville? Jeremy here at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are a trendy, upscale, full-service bar and cigar lounge in the heart of downtown, 2 blocks from Bridgestone Arena, Ryman Auditorium, and Nissan Stadium. Come check out the best old-fashioned in Nashville and let my excellent staff create your next luxury experience. With our state-of-the-art ventilation system and imported leather furniture, make us your next stop for a night out on the town. Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are luxury redefined.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Sound good to me.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. 102.5 The Game, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Studio sponsored by Hillier Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Of course, if you want to get in the conversation, the phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. And you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Talking Preds, following up on Jared Stillman, who talked way too long. But he had some interesting things to say. I continue to be of the mind that he's overstating the John Hines issue. Someone on the text line says, Joe, do you think John Hines has done a good job and or made the most of what this roster provides? Again, I can't say John Hines did a good job this year. I mean, that's like the results ultimately tell that story, don't they? I mean, you can just simplify it. Like, what are the results? Yes, relative to expectations, relative to talent on paper, certainly not good enough. So no, I don't think John Hines has helped himself or done a good enough job this season. I'm also putting more on some of the individuals on this team who aren't playing their highest level, and I think that some of them, Adam, maybe just past that highest level. I mean, I don't know how much of this season is underperforming as compared with just sort of performing at what certain players are anymore. I mean, this is an aging team, it's an aging core, and it's been a pretty good core, but it's not a core that can match up with teams like, I don't know, say Boston.
Yeah, look, we've talked about this many, many times, about the performances that many of these players had last year. Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, Matt Duchene, Ryan Johansson, Tanner Jeannot, so on and so forth. And we all expected some sort of regression. And to me, I think Roman Josi has had a typical Roman Josi season. Nobody expected him to have the production he had last year. It was historic in the sense that it had been like 30 years since a defenseman had as many points as he did last season. I think Philip Forsberg and Matt Duchene have regressed to what they have shown to be in their careers, which are good but not great scoring forwards. Last year, to me, was an outlier for both players. And I think Ryan Johansson as well. The player who has had, I think, well, obviously Tanner Jeannot, he only has 5 goals this year, but after having 24 last year. But the player whose regression has been the steepest to me and perhaps the biggest surprise is Mikael Granlund. Considering how important Granlund has been to John Hines. I mean, if you look at the overall ice time per game since John Hines became coach, I think Granlund might lead all forwards.
He completely transformed. That was one, Laviolette to Hines, completely changed Granlund's trajectory here, remember? Yes. I mean, it was like, oh, here's a coach who puts, whatever, it works with this coach and this player.
But Granlund, he has 6 goals and 29 points in 52 games. Last season, he had 11 goals and 53 assists, 64 points in 80 games. Now, last year he spent a lot of time playing with Forsberg and Duchesne while having their career years, and he benefited from that. But he has fallen off dramatically, and to me that has probably been the biggest surprise in terms of the regression that I've seen from players year over year.
And you know what? Look, I have no idea what's going on individually with each person here, but to me, he's 31. He's been in this league since as a full-time player for 10 years. And sometimes that mileage just starts to show, right? That's probably the simplest explanation, and that's another just issue with this roster is there's a lot of guys like that who probably are past their best hockey, and you are dependent on them, and you can't get out of contracts with them.
Well, look at their top 5 scorers. If you sort their top 5 scorers by points, it's Yossi, Forsberg, Duchesne, Granlund, Yossi, Forsberg, Duchesne, Johansson, and Granlund. I think that's the order. Or Granlund and Johansson, actually. Either way. Yossi is 32. Forsberg is 28. Duchesne is 32. Granlund is 30. And I think Johansson is either 30 or 31. That's a problem. That their top 5 scorers are all in their, 4 of them are in their 30s and one is in his late 20s.
Now, if you want to spin the other way, you can say, yeah, but Parsonen could be really good, and Evangelista's coming, and I like Cody. I think Cody Glass is one of the good stories in the team this year. I think you see why he was a high pick. You're starting to see it. I don't know what you think about him, but I like Cody Glass and what I see from him. It was someone, by the way, brought up the point about Tolvanen. He did have 2 years with Carl Taylor, Jared's coaching solution here. But let me get into this. Dennis says, look at Tolvanen once he got away from Hines. What do you think about that? Tolvanen in Seattle so far, I still think we saw what he was here, but hey, if he's just going to be a totally different level of production from here, obviously that's an indictment of Hines or what they were doing with him here, right? I still have my doubts that that's how it's going to end up after a bigger sample size.
I don't think Eeli Tolvanen is going to become like a consistent 30-goal scorer or anything like that, but he's being put in a position that benefits his skill set in Seattle. He's playing with good players. He's playing with, I believe, Oliver Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gord. I'm sure he's getting power play time. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but he's playing with players who meet his skill set. Now, you could argue that last year he spent a lot of time with Ryan Johansson. Right. But on the other side, he was playing with Luke Cunnin, who was probably, probably the worst player on the team in the sense of like what he was expected to be versus what he actually did.
Which didn't cost him ice time. Which
is an indictment of John Hines. Like there was nothing.
No, that's fair.
Which is not something that Luke Cunnin, I feel like, could not do anything to get pushed out of the top 6 last year. Which also I think speaks to the roster construction, which to your point is the larger issue. I think the roster construction has been a larger issue than the coaching. Yeah. But in terms of Tolvanen, yes, I think it shows that the Predators did not do enough to put Tolvanen in a position to succeed consistently.
I just thought they did last year for the most part. But, yeah, you're right. Cunnin, it doesn't help. Glenn from Laverne, real quick, I guess this is a compliment. You and Jared are good for radio, but talking about the state of the Predators is not. Adam has good insight. Nice compliment to you and Robby. Are the Preds rebuilding? They sure are playing like they are. If you're trying to reload the team, where do you start? We're going to get into that. We're going to get to you, Bob from Antioch, also on the car after this break. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Ekholm with a blast to score! Oh, what a stop there by Cerro. He scores! Philip Forsberg scores!
The second half of the Predators season is underway. What moves will GM David Boyle make to improve his team ahead of the trading deadline?
You're just missing something from the finishing touch.
Keep it locked to your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan South. It's February, and I know most people immediately think of the groundhog. But I don't want to focus on how Phil became the most well-known weatherman in history and how his accuracy rivals most human weathermen. I prefer to focus on love. We all know the songs Love Hurts and Love Stinks. Those songs are not welcome here. At Newton, we love what we do. The heart of what we do is found in helping people. And what better way to do that than by listening to your needs and helping you find exactly what you're looking for? We love helping you find the car you love. We love keeping the car you love running at its best. We have tons of new cars on ground looking to be loved and a huge selection of pre-loved cars waiting for you to give them a new home. You can shop for your next love on our website with Newton FastPass. Your new love can be delivered to your home. Find your love at Newton or visit us online at newtonnissansouth.com.
It's Family Leisure's President's Day sale.
Wait, President's Day?
Well, it's in honor of all our presidents, and it means great deals for everyone.
Okay, like what?
Well, pools and spas for one. Family Leisure has the largest selection and guarantees the lowest prices anywhere.
What about grills and grill islands?
Of course, everything is on sale for 4 days at Family Leisure, just in time for spring.
Family Leisure, both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Celebrate Nashville's chefs and diverse food scene throughout the month of February with Dine Nashville. Scheduled events include one-of-a-kind chef collaborations throughout the month and Restaurant Week, February 20th through 26th. Reservations and more information can be found at visitmusiccity.com/Dine Nashville.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Dell Technologies President's Day business event starts now with deals to power America's doers and dreamers. Save on select performance business PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL for President's Day deals. That's 877-ASK-DELL. 877-ASK-DELL.
Hi, I'm Steve Lehman. Stay tuned to 102.5 The Game for your chance to win tickets to an upcoming Belmont basketball game.
When you want live and local,
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
they've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years? The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, this is Ryan Johansson. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Get in on the phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, 615-737-1025. We're in the Game studio, sponsored by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. And we are going to go to our phone line where Bob from Antioch has been very patient. Bob, how are you? What's going on?
Good morning, guys. I don't know if y'all have talked about this or not. I apologize if you have. But Ryan McDonough's quote after the game last night really was sort of an eye-opener to me. He said that to win in the NHL, you have to be willing to do certain things. And he said Boston was willing to do that. And so obviously, to me, the implication was Nashville isn't doing that. And I've been hearing quotes like that from players for 2 or 3 years. Really, of course, the most infamous time was after the Winter Classic. And so my question to you guys is, do you think Nashville has the reputation as being kind of a cushy, easy place to land for a player, because it's Music City, the It City, it's got all the celebrities and stuff. And it just bothers me that for the last few years, the players even themselves say, hey, we took a day off where we just, the effort isn't there. I was just curious about that. That's
a really that's a good question. Thank you, Bob. And actually, Bob should be running the show because we were talking earlier about McDonough, and I forgot to go to. Do we have that? Yeah. Let's. I thought this was also a very interesting comment, and I thought the same exact thing. Here's Ryan McDonough after last night's 5-0 loss to the Bruins.
I think there was a lot of execution left out there by us, lack of it. We see a lot of missed passes, some odd man rushes where you'd like to generate something and we don't. There's a willingness and a price to pay, if you want to win in this league, and certainly that team was doing it consistently throughout the game. Just being disciplined, putting pucks behind us, wearing us down that way, taking what's given if there was an opportunity on odd man, and certainly, didn't give us anything for free, and so I think that's the difference in the game. They win the special teams, and obviously 5-on-5, so it's tough to find a way to win games when you're kind of lacking in all those areas.
That was Ryan McDonough after last night's 5-0 loss to the Bruins, and I thought the same thing. That sounded like someone saying, this is what you have to do. These teams do this, and it's basically serving as a contrast. He didn't say that out loud, but I kind of took it that way.
When I like Ryan McDonough, to me, of all the players in that dressing room whose words stand out to me and actually have meaning behind them, it's Ryan McDonough. I mean, Ryan McDonough, this is his 13th NHL season. He's never missed the playoffs in his career with the Rangers and the Lightning. Obviously, he won 2 Stanley Cups with the Lightning. He was a captain in New York. This guy knows how to win. This guy is a proven winner, which most of the Predators are not. So when I hear him say something like that, it actually means something more to me than even if Roman Josi said it. So to hear Ryan McDonough say that, because he knows what it takes to win in the NHL, to hear him say that, yeah, it stands out for sure.
Now, I will say, you have Josi and Forsberg and Johansson and Sissons, and you have guys in this core who have gotten to within 2 wins of winning a cup, right? So, I mean, it's not like there is a difference between that and a guy who has skated around with the cup multiple times. Mm-hmm. But you know what I mean? I hear you, but they have enough people in this dressing room before him that should have an idea, should understand that.
True.
Now, to Bob's question, see, I understand the question, but when the Preds have been good under Hines in their better stretches, I think they've also been tremendously physical, hardworking, gritty, doing the right things. So, we've seen that hockey from a lot of these guys with this coach, right?
Yes.
So it's not like this has been a consistent issue. If it was, he probably wouldn't have been the coach this long. So that's what's interesting is they just can't. I still think it goes back to if you have to do those things. Like he said, Boston does those things. That's true. Also, Boston has a lot of margin for error with the way so many people are playing and producing and scoring, right? This team has not enough margin for error because they're not good enough. That's my opinion. So they have to take it to, I think, a higher level on any given night to win a game to make up for their deficiencies, including this year, a power play that's just dreadful out of nowhere. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Bob's question was about the market and, if playing in Nashville, I don't want to put – it sounded like, does playing in Nashville make players soft, kind of? I don't know. I feel like that's kind of what he was hinting at. I'm not sure how much the market plays into that. And look, we have seen good hockey from this group under John Hines, as you said. Now, UC Saros deserves a lot of credit for that, and
yes.
UC Saros has made things look better than they probably are, and I think you're seeing what happens now when UC Saros, is left on an island. I think you also saw it in the playoffs last year, of course. But I was struck by something that I heard Pierre LeBrun of TSN and The Athletic say last night on Insider Trading, but also has a story on The Athletic that just went up talking about the Predators' approach to the trade deadline, because we were talking about solutions. This was Pierre. Quote, if this weekend goes poorly for the Predators, my understanding is that veteran GM David Poile will be ready to open the phone lines and listen on almost anyone. We really haven't heard about any Predators players on the trade front the past several weeks. That's because Poile keeps things close to the vest and he wants to give his team a chance. But if it doesn't get going right now, I believe Nashville will be ready to listen with an open mind. Matthias Ekholm, Matt Duchene, Ryan Johansson, Mikhail Granlund, Nino Niederreiter. If the Predators fall out of it over the next week, I truly believe the team will be ready to listen on all those players and more.
Well, some of those players listed, they'd love to listen. They won't hear anything.
The fly in the ointment is the Predators don't have any pending unrestricted free agents of note, the type of players who normally get dealt at this time of year. The players I mentioned are all signed past this year. Most players on the Nashville roster are. So if the Predators become sellers, they'll be trying to make hockey deals, not rental deals, which in some ways are harder to make in season. On the other hand, it does open it up to teams looking for players signed past this year.
Right. So I'd say three come to mind who I'll go four.
Okay.
I'll go four. Now, we've talked about all these, but one of them is the one that I think is really interesting. So I think McDonough, there's some term with McDonough and Ekholm. If there's a team who believes, this could be not only a piece that could really elevate us this year, but now you've also, you've got term after this. Nino Niederreiter, that's it's a 2-year deal. The money's not big. That's I think a possibility. And then Saros, UC Saros, 2 years left on his deal, $5 million AAV. I think one of the best bargains in the entire league. And look, at some point, one way or the other, I think Saros or Askarov, I just think it makes sense to make a choice there and get a ton of value out of the goalie you don't choose. Obviously, if you're dealing now, a team wants a goalie who's ready to come in and start and lead them to the cup, which, of course, is not Askarov right now. Maybe you're like, no, UC Saros is the future of this franchise. He's going to have a career like Pecorine with this franchise. Askarov at some point is going to be, an off-season trade for a haul or whatever. To me, you tell me if you disagree. You have two assets like that, and you are so deficient elsewhere. You have to think in those terms.
Yeah, I don't think a goalie trade is an in-season trade. I think that's a trade that the Predators would make in the off-season. When I think about Ekholm and McDonough, I think it's obviously easier to trade Ekholm because McDonough has a no trade clause in his contract, and after being moved in the offseason, who knows if he will want to be moved again so quickly. And Ekholm has generated interest in the past when he was a pending unrestricted free agent. He's also a little bit cheaper, not that much cheaper, but a little bit cheaper. And every dollar counts. Nino Niederreiter makes a lot of sense to me to move. He is a veteran in this league. I see him as like a plan B or C for a team that needs a forward that doesn't get who they want. I would move him, absolutely. I would try to move Dante Fabro and see if you could get back what you traded for Jeremy Lauzon. Like, can you get a second-round pick back for Dante Fabro? Maybe not, but maybe you get a third. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, I don't think you can get a second.
But to me, at the deadline, I absolutely move Dante Fabro and Nino Niederreiter to start. And I would consider moving Matthias Ekholm. I'm not sure if you could convince Ryan McDonough to leave again, like to waive a no trade clause after he just did and moved his family. So those are my top three at the deadline.
All right, we have a ton of thoughts on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So coming up next is Rex Rant. This is basically today is a big rant. We're going to continue the rant about the Preds. Robby and Rexrode 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robby and Rexrode for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Dave Matthews Band Live.
Celebrate, we're well.
Friday, May 26th, Bridgestone Arena. Tickets on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Pre-order the new album, Walk Around the Moon, now. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
Stop! Are you about to pay too much for new furniture? Then you need to come by Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue in Nashville. Their President's Day sale is going on now. You can buy your new furniture today and get it today. But you do not have to pay today. During Social Furniture's President's Day sale, they have special financing for up to 60 months with no money down. Sectional sofas, mattresses, dining sets, bedroom sets, and more are up to 50% off. At Social Furniture, they say yes, yes, yes.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics has been serving Wilson County for over 12 years to ensure safety of both their patients and staff. They are strictly adhering to CDC and OSHA guidelines. They're located where you live and work, just off South Hartman Drive in Lebanon, focusing on general orthopedics, sports medicine trauma, and arthroscopic of the hip, shoulder, foot, and ankle. When experience matters, trust the #1 orthopedic clinic in Wilson County. For more info or to book an appointment, visit tn.houston.com.
Moving isn't fun and can be expensive. With this week's Nashville's Best Deal, save on your next move with Black Tie Moving. Enjoy red carpet treatment along with professional pad wrapping. They will assemble and disassemble your items and save you time. Black Tie delivers a world-class packing service and offers long-distance and local moving options. Right now, get $200 off a half-day move for just $75 or $400 off a full-day move for $150 at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Pennzoil Platinum can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life oil filter for only $37.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This week on RVER, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
Hey, Chief, we got a damaged RV on its way to the OR.
Well, that sounds like a job for the new head of RV surgery.
Wait, are you promoting me?
Congrats, Martinez.
Doctor, that RV's flatlining.
Well, that sounds like a job for the new head of nursing.
So you're just promoting everyone now?
Yeah, kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
When your RV really needs saving, Progressive has you covered. See if you could save with a leader in RV insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
As long as he wants to coach there, he will be able to coach there.
I think that really did save the hope of this team.
Michelle and Junie, presented by Superbook Sports, every Saturday morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Good morning. Good morning.
You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
I have the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Glorious. Till I'm victorious. It's so stupid. It's a terrible song.
Now it's we're just piling on. Welcome back. This is a Rex Rant.
I didn't hear that song last night. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think so. Now I think it's basically post-win, but not always. I don't know.
Well, if you're a Predators fan who likes to hear the song after home wins, you haven't heard it since the All-Star break, since they're 0-3 at home.
That is true. The one win at Philadelphia. So, look, this today is actually, I'm always, when I'm on microphone one, I was a little skittish about it, but this has been an easy show because everybody's mad about the Preds.
Well, in the rant today, all the Predators fans text in because we have a bunch to rant about.
Yeah,
Can we just read their rants during the Rex rant?
Well, I can go through some of the texts here on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com, 615-737-1025. Chuck, so what you're saying is David Poile has handcuffed this team with Duchesne, Johansson, and Forsberg. Brian says, meanwhile, at the Preds facility, it looks like a picture of the Titanic sinking. Wayne says, if I was Poyle, I would move a player today to try to get the team's attention. Moving a player at this point has to be strategic and for the purpose of improving your team, right? Not
message sending.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like the whole thing that with Stillman about firing Hines, like it's going to be some boost to this team. I just really don't buy that. Joel says, can Adam go over the problems with trying to move Duchesne, Joey, and Granlund? Would Poyle be willing to retain some salary? I really don't want to lose Ekholm. And we've also talked to Adam about a buyout at some point. They've bought out Turris, which is one of the worst moves, of course, that Poyle's made during this stretch. I don't know how much appetite you would have to continue buying out contracts, but I think at some point something like that would be possible. And there is, I guess, salary retention too in a deal, something like that. But it's same idea, right? Except you could get something back potentially, picks back.
So David Poyle has never retained salary in a trade for as long as that has been.
He also
allowed.
Never used to do no movement clauses.
That is true. So if you want to talk about buyouts, so if the Predators bought out Ryan Johansson, who after this season I believe has 2 years left on his contract, the Predators would carry a $2.666667, so basically $2 million and 2/3, $2.666 million cap hit through 2027. So that means they would be paying, they would have about $4.6 million in dead money on their cap for at least a few years because the Kyle Turris buyout continues. So, is it worth it? I mean, you'll save, you'll save $5-ish million against the cap for 2 years on Ryan Johansson, but then you'll have to carry some dead money after that. So I'd be curious if that were an option, because honestly, that doesn't sound that terrible. But
yeah, no, it's like, I think it's something that could potentially, be on the table. Unnamed texter says, time for the Preds to blow this thing up like the bathroom at Taco Bell. Wow. That got aggressive. Brady wasn't
We did
Hines.
not need that.
Yeah, we didn't know. Sorry, I didn't have to read it either. Brady says, wasn't Hines supposed to be great at developing young players?
Was that Jared's burner text? Jared, it all comes together.
Oh my goodness.
Jared's probably pounding that. Has Jared seen 80 for Brady, you think?
Oh, I bet you he was there in the front row on day one. I haven't asked him that, but he must have.
He's
right?
had to have seen it, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. No, I'm sure. Yeah,
in his TB12 shirt.
Yeah, exactly. After watching
with his avocado ice cream, sneaking it in.
Right.
To the,
Right.
Yeah.
No,
we'll have to ask him that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I haven't.
Well, maybe next time you go to a Preds game with him,
yes.
See if he wants to go tomorrow.
Yes.
So I do want to again revisit just the general idea of my idea of the goalie, moving a goalie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with me?
Yes.
That basically like that has to be part of the solution moving forward when you have two goalies of that one quality. I mean, one of the top 5 goalies in the league. UC Saros is one of the top 5 goalies in the league.
I would agree with that.
And then a prospect, and we don't know what Askarov is going to be, but there's really not much indication that he's not going to be what people thought he was on draft day.
Yeah, look, there haven't been that many high-profile goalie trades that I can think of in recent memory. The first one that popped into my head was the trade that the Avalanche made with the Coyotes in the summer of 2021 to acquire Darcy Kemper.
Yeah.
And the return on that was Connor Timmins, who actually now plays for Toronto, but I believe Timmins was a high second-round pick by the Coyotes, like the first pick of the second round. They got a 2022 first-round pick and a 2024 third-round pick, which was conditional. And then last year, it was actually also the Avalanche when they traded for Alexander Georgiev from the New York Rangers. He was worth a third-round pick and 2 third-round picks and a 5th-round pick. Now, I would argue, of course, that UC Saros is a better goaltender than both Darcy Kemper, although he did win a Stanley Cup, and Alexander Georgiev. So to me, I think that UC Saros to me, could be worth, at his current price, and his state of play could be worth at least two first-round picks to me. Now, what could that mean? I talked about this with Jared last night as well. A first-round pick, it could be 2 actual first-round picks, or it could be a first-round pick and a player that was a first-round pick,
right?
Like a first-round quality prospect. But no, I think UC Saros could get the Predators the type of return that jumpstarts a rebuild. Absolutely.
So if you are the GM and you're looking at that, are you sure that you wouldn't say, look, he's the known commodity. He's not slowing down anytime soon. I'd rather just have UC Saros be my goalie for a long period of time and put Askarov on the market.
Right, you pay. Look,
I mean, your clock obviously ends sooner if you go that route, but Saros is a top 5 goalie in the league.
Think about what the Predators could have received for Eli Tolvanen if they had traded him instead of bringing him over. Like, considering how he played at the Olympics and considering how he played in the KHL, that potential. Like, you know, teams will pay for potential. I mean, Askarov is one of 2 of the top goalie prospects in the NHL. So, he made a spot start earlier this season. I believe it was in Montreal. So the potential is there. Teams will pay for potential.
So compare that potential haul to what you just said about Saros.
Yeah, that's the hard part because, as you said, Saros is a known commodity. So teams have plenty of data on Saros, which they may be more comfortable paying more for than the potential of Askarov. Like, I think you get more for Saros than you do for Askarov.
But someone would say, but he's younger, and the ceiling is even higher.
Yes. I mean, either way, I think both of them would get a solid to significant return.
We were talking the other day, it's like, is there someone now, because you're right, that, I mean, I hearken back to when my beloved, my childhood Red Wings traded for Bob Essenza at the trading deadline in 94 and finally got Tim Cheveldae out of there. It did not work out at all, but Chris Osgood came in and they lost to San Jose. Anyway, is there a team out there who would be like, boy, you had Saros right now, plus we have him the next 2 years at 5, we're winning the cup with
Edmonton.
Him. Okay, McDavid. There you go. McDavid for Saros straight up.
Edmonton.
Easy. Done. Okay, fine. Just Draisaitl.
Edmonton needs a goalie. Los Angeles needs a goalie. I'm thinking about teams
Toronto.
that are in Toronto. I mean, Ilya Samsonov is having a fine season. I think Vegas is okay. To me, like, Edmonton needs a goalie.
But that's probably an off-season situation.
That's what I think. I think a Saros trade would be, I don't know if that's a deal you pull off in season. I think that's like a draft day type trade.
All right. We will revisit this Preds discussion today. It's popping. But when we come back, we got our weekly visit with TD Teron Davenport, talk a little NFL and Titans on Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You love the game.
Tennessee touchdown! Middle Tennessee gets the score.
We live the game.
Just work on the little things every day.
They think the coaches are just coaches.
We are.
Rexrode scores!
On both sides of the ball.
One big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Preds Report.
Presented by Newton Nissan.
The Nashville Predators trailed early against the Boston Bruins in their game last night at Bridgestone Arena. Brad Marchand set up beautifully by Patrice Bergeron, 2:54 in. Then shortly thereafter, UC Saros made a big stop. Here's Lauko, and in front it goes, and Saros has to make a big stop off the chest. So Saros with that stop, and then the Predators, however, could not capitalize on it. They gave up the last 4 goals of the game to drop it 5-0. Predators will wrap up the homestand Saturday afternoon, a 1 o'clock game against the Florida Panthers. Pre-game at noon, the game at 1. This is Pete Weber reporting.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Come out to the 50th Annual National Wild Turkey Federation Convention and Sports Show, February 16th through the 18th at the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center. Enjoy nightly events, more than 450 vendors, and more. And be sure to join 102.5 The Game this Friday from 2 to 4.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Nice run. It's great being back out on the mountain. You sort of disappeared for a while. Everything okay? Between you and me, it was lower testosterone. Lower T? Yeah. The doc told me once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to stay in shape. That's why I started taking Nugenix Total T. It's made a huge difference. Oh, I've seen that on TV. Is it for real? For sure. It's the #1 doctor-recommended testosterone booster. It boosts free and total testosterone levels to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. My wife, my boss, my kids, everyone has noticed a change in me. Do they still give out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves? Yes, just send them a text.
Guys, text HEFTY to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC and Walmart. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Text HEFTY to 321-321. That's HEFTY to 321-321.
Your Game Center update.
The Boston Bruins shut out the Nashville Predators last night, 5-0 in Bridgestone. Head coach John Hines spoke on the loss after the game.
I mean, they had the early goal, and then, I thought early in the first period our execution was not close to what it needed to be. I thought we turned pucks over at the offensive blue line. We didn't have ice to play on. I thought our power play was ineffective early. That gives you a chance to be able to have some pushback in the game, and that was the extent of the first period.
The Predators will have a quick turnaround as they host the Florida Panthers tomorrow at 1 p.m. in Bridgestone Arena. The Tennessee Vols are coming off a big win over #1 Alabama and will head to Lexington for an early matchup in Rupp Arena tomorrow against Kentucky. Tip-offs at noon. This report is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezovic for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rexrode. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mace.
Stone and Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Cranks it, he scores. On both sides of the one big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun.
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Third and final hour here on Robby and Rexrode. Adam Vingan in for Robby today, Michelle Knezovic, and as we do every Friday at 8 a.m., very happy to welcome in our friend TD Teron Davenport. ESPN NFL Nation covers the Titans and the league. TD, how the heck are you today, my friend?
Hey, how's it going? Good morning.
Are you in somewhat, I guess, football mourning right now, TD, because we just saw our last real game for a long time, or are you just energized to dig in on the draft prospects, which I know you've already been doing after going to the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, it's really time to move on to the next phase. But you do have the XFL starting this weekend. But it's excited about being able to dig into some of these draft prospects. And we got the HBCU Combine coming up on Monday. I'll be down there for that, so looking forward to that as well.
And where is that?
That's in New Orleans. It's at the Saints facility.
Okay, cool. So right now, off the top of your head, I don't know, 3-4 players who have jumped out to you as players of particular interest, potentially, to the Titans at 11.
Yeah, at 11, players of interest, I mean, there's a few that you could go to. Broderick, I think I'm going to go to Paris Johnson Jr. He's a guy out of Ohio State, the left tackle. He's someone. I think you look at Skoronski out of Northwestern. That's another one. Broderick Jones out of Georgia. Those are three offensive linemen I think would be ideal.
Teron, elsewhere in the AFC South recently, the Indianapolis Colts, after having a coaching search that lasted how long? Several months, it felt like.
Years.
Years, perhaps. They settled on, well, not settled, because they seem so happy to have Shane Steichen as their new head coach. I'm curious about what you think of that hire and how you think that impacts the Colts and what what Steichen's first order of business is to get that team back on track.
Yeah, I think when you look at Steichen, he's a guy who quarterbacks say they love working with him. So, Phillip Rivers, he came out and he raved about him. So I think that's really where the help is going to be. It's an ideal situation for them getting a young quarterback and having somebody who can help bring him along. So I think that's how it's going to work with them. I want to see because, look, this is a team that it's not like they're going from an offensive coach to a defensive coach. It's been that way, offensive with Frank Reich. It's going to be, all about taking a young quarterback and bringing him along as opposed to this plug-and-play thing that game that they've played over the last few years.
Yeah, no doubt. And it seems pretty clear, that TD, that two of the three, the Jags, of course, already have their guy. But the other two AFC South teams are going to probably have, their guy moving forward after this draft, whether it be, with the Texans, are they going to go with Bryce Young? Is someone going to try to move up to one to get him? Would it be Stroud or Levis potentially, for the Colts? But regardless, it looks like the Titans are probably going to be sitting with Ryan Tannehill next year, and the other three AFC South teams will sort of have their long-term answer at quarterback. Do you have any, and I know we've talked a ton already, the offseason is so much about quarterbacks, but do you have any different feel at all just for the quarterback picture? Rodgers, as he's in his darkness retreat, Carr, I think we've talked about that. Like I don't see why Carr is an upgrade over Tannehill, or the idea of digging in on these prospects right now and seeing if maybe one of them is who you believe could be your guy and going that route. Maybe even like a Chiefs-like model from 2017 when they take Patrick Mahomes at 10 and Alex Smith has that last year and lets Mahomes sit for a year.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud is a really interesting prospect. I like what he's able to do. He has the accuracy. I think he's probably the most precise out of all these quarterbacks. And he's someone that, they may have to move up a bit to get, but I think he would be a good pick. A lot of people are looking at Will Levis as a guy that they feel will be one of the top options, and I get it because when you watch him, there's a couple throws I've seen him make, like 70 yards in the air, flick of the wrist, and it's in the end zone, and that's very attractive. But I would honestly just stay put. I don't know that I would move up to get any of these guys. I think next year is when you look at really trying to move up. Caleb Williams is a guy I really like. Drake May is intriguing as well. So that's kind of what I would keep an eye on next year. Rodgers, you got to give up a couple first to get him. You do that, and you also got to take on that contract, too. So I think everything falls in line for Tannehill to be the guy.
I wasn't able to listen to much of the TD Power Hour. Did Stillman throw his goofy Chad Brinker thing at you that they hired Chad Brinker to get intel on Aaron Rodgers?
No, he didn't. What he threw in there was that the Jets hired Todd Downing to get Ryan Tannehill. So I had to hit him with the Lee Corso, man. Not so fast, my friend.
I can't believe you went through an hour and he didn't. He must realize that the Brinker thing is dumb. I'm actually proud of him for that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you have one, Bingham?
I was just curious for TD's opinion on, you mentioned Todd Downing being hired by the New York Jets. Keith Carter also hired by the New York Jets as well. What do you make of that dynamic, them both leaving Tennessee or being let go in Tennessee and then both ending up on the same team in New York?
Yeah, that's the NFL, man. Coaches are recycled all the time. I'm actually really happy for Todd Downing, to be honest with you. I'm glad he was able to, not exactly land fully on his feet, but still, be able to bounce back and get a position. So I'm happy for him for that. He's not as bad of a coach as people make him out to be. If you look, obviously there were some egregious play calls, but at the same time, there were some where it was there, but it just wasn't executed. So you also got to look at, this guy got a pretty bad hand the last couple of years, right? You lose Derrick Henry for 9 games, and then you lose Taylor Lewan for 15, and then on top of that, all the other injuries that they were dealing with on the offensive line. So I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying he's not as bad as he's made out to be, so I'm happy for that. And Keith Carter, he's another coach that he's an acquired taste, and Taylor Lewan and some of the other players have said that. But, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with those guys up there with the Jets.
No, yeah, I'm with you on Downing, and that'll get the text line popping, I'm sure. But it gets exaggerated, and everybody wants to be able to to isolate and say this is whose fault it was. But
Right.
I still think the roster was a much bigger issue last year. So TD, on the coaching staff front, interesting to me that. Of course, you have Justin Outen coming in to be running backs coach, run game coordinator. Tony Dews goes to tight ends. You have Charles London in as quarterbacks coach and pass game coordinator. There's the word coordinator is just all over NFL coaching staffs now. But you got two guys there in Outen and London who have had OC interest around this league, who could potentially be guys waiting in the wings if a Tim Kelly does well and moves on. And then you have Pat O'Hara and Luke Steckel. Basically, to me, getting demotions, but still here. I'm sure they're not getting less pay. So I look at this as Amy Adams-Strunk really investing in this staff. Yeah. What do you think the impact of that is?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It's a high investment in the staff. And, Luke Steckel, we remember he interviewed for the Chargers OC job. So you have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and I think this is just further accentuating the collaboration side of things that they're looking to have. And I've said it before, it reminds me of the situation with the Eagles where they had a bunch of guys as well. You had John DeFilippo, who was a quarterback coach, and he had OC experience. Obviously, Frank Reich was the OC. You had Press Taylor. You had Mike Groh. These guys all were up-and-coming coaches, and they were each in charge with different things. So you look at Philly Special, the fake that they did on 4th and 1 to get Nick Foles the touchdown, that was something that Press Taylor went and grabbed because it was his job to go find trick plays. That was his job. So that's what he did, and look at how it benefited. So a collaboration can be good, and I that's how I look at it, honestly.
Yeah, that's the thing. If everybody's on the same page, it's just more brain power, right? That's how it should work. It should just help you. All right, last thing for you, TD. Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation. Super Bowl recap. 3 things, okay? First of all, I hated the last call. Thought it was ticky-tack, and I didn't want the game to end on that. Your thoughts on that? What we take away from the team with the best quarterback winning against, maybe the best team with a really good quarterback, who, by the way, I thought might have been better that night than Mahomes in a lot of the game. But what's the takeaway in terms of, big picture in this league? And finally, where do you rank Rihanna's halftime performance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that call was you look and you watch the play, you look in the O-line, there's illegal hands to the face, but that was kind of overlooked. So it was disappointing to see that call and not have the other one at the same time. But, holding is holding. You can't hold, and that whether or not that pass was catchable is irrelevant because with holding, that's not something that you put into the picture. It was a great game, though. I mean, you look both sides. They did some really great things. I wish the field was in better shape so I could really see those Eagles pass rushers get after it. But Jalen Hurts, man, a few years ago we had him on talking with TD, and I remember talking with some of the hosts about him being a legit quarterback, and they told me I was crazy. But you see that this guy his performance was outstanding. Triple threat, so it was great to see him be able to do that. To have the mindset to be able to take them back on scoring drives after giving up the touchdown, an unforced error, and then you turn around and you take them on a touchdown drive. And then after the Chiefs scored to go ahead, take them on another one. And you look at the running, 3 touchdowns in the game, and then 300 yards passing. He showed that he's legit. Now, as far as Rihanna's performance, I enjoyed it. I still put Prince. I put him above that. I also, you got to put the one from last year with Dre and 50 Cent and Mary J. and Kendrick and all those. That's probably the best ever in my opinion. But it was good. I couldn't fully listen to it because I was doing ESPN radio, but I definitely got the visuals. I loved how everything was.
There we go, TD. I got to admit, man, I think Prince is number one. But I did love last year's too. Last year's was pretty great. All right, TD, Teron Davenport, as always, thanks so much, buddy, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys.
All right, Teron Davenport, ESPN, NFL Nation. When we come back, we will react to a bit of what he said. Actually, I do need Vingan's halftime ranking as well. And a little bit more on the Titans' coaching situation and how maybe that can benefit them next year. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We are your home for every big pass.
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
Big wreck.
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
And big win.
Austin Dillon wins at Daytona.
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter. But it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact tractors, rated #1 in durability and owner experience. They're designed for easy operation and feature performance-matched attachments. Right now, put 0 down and get 0% APR for up to 72 months, plus save up to $800 on select equipment. Now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
When you bundle your renters and auto insurance with Progressive, you could save money, but it doesn't cover any terrible memories living rent-free in your head.
Remember when one of your best players got injured, but not like on a play or anything? He got injured celebrating a play, and it's not like it was a game-winning play or in the playoffs. And he was out the rest of the season because he was injured while celebrating? Yeah.
Sorry, we can't save you from that memory, but we could save you money bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Renters insurance and bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you ordered a new air filter for your car. You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. So you take a little bit off the sides. Well, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or just go to eBay Motors and get it right the first time. When you see the green check, you know that part's gonna fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
Attention! Per the current government mandate, U.S.-based insurers are now required to cover at-home COVID testing kits with no out-of-pocket fees to you. If you have a current insurance plan, you are eligible to receive up to 8 COVID-19 tests shipped to you each month absolutely free as long as the government mandate is in effect. Just visit yourfreetest.net to register now. That's yourfreetest.net to receive your tests shipped to you at no cost. Go to yourfreetest.net. Medicare insured or not eligible.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
For Presented by Superbook Sports. Voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Video streaming brought to you by Superbuck here on Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Adam Vingan in for Robbie Stanley, Michelle Knezovic running the show as always, and just talked to Tron Davenport. So we got some reaction, Adam, and I do want to get to definitely some skepticism about the coaching changes, what they mean. Jeff from Aaron, Tennessee. I'm going to actually read 2 texts that he sent today. One is the latest. The Titans can make all the coaching changes they want. As long as Ryan Tannehill's a quarterback, it's going to be another mediocre season. Just have to find somebody else to watch. He also said earlier, Joe is just as blind about John Hines as he is about Tannehill.
Oh.
And we're putting John Hines and Ryan Tannehill together. So let me ask you, Jeff. You can text back on this. Were you like Malik Willis should replace Tannehill this year? Were you one of those on Titans Facebook? Yeah, I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill's a great quarterback. Ryan Tannehill has done more than mediocre in his time with the Titans, though. So, I mean, the best Titans football since the great era under Steve McNair was with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. And yes, it was built around Derrick Henry at running back. But I mean, it's absolutely true that I lost trust. I think a lot of people did when he threw 3 picks to lose the Bengals game. Also, it's true that he has played a lot of good football. And this last year, I was impressed with Tannehill's performance given the circumstances. But you're probably looking at another year of Ryan Tannehill, so you're probably going to have to settle in and get used to that idea.
Yeah, and you look at what's happening around the league in terms of quarterback movement, and I know Aaron Rodgers is tripping on ayahuasca in some closet somewhere, trying to figure out what to do with his life. But unless you can land someone like that, I don't see any other quarterback on the market, whether it be a free agent or a potential trade, that is a significant improvement over Ryan Tannehill. I know that the Raiders just released Derek Carr, and now he gets a head start on potentially. He's going to find a new place to play. He gets a head start on finding a new team, but I don't see. I don't think Derek Carr is that much better of a quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. I
don't think he's better.
You think Tannehill is better than Carr?
I mean, I think they're.
They're pretty much equal. I would say.
Carr is younger.
Yes. So, yeah, I don't really see, would you rather have Jimmy Garoppolo than Ryan Tannehill?
Good Lord, no.
I don't know who else. I don't know who else is out there.
It's the rookie scenario. I mean, that's
right.
To me, that's what it is. But,
moving up in the draft and picking one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Richardson may be there. And some people.
How do you feel about him?
Well, yeah, I do put high value in what I've seen with my own 2 eyes, maybe just because there's something to that, right? Mm-hmm. So I've always kind of gone that way. And what I saw with my own 2 eyes this fall was a first-round quarterback really tearing up the Vols in Neyland Stadium and keeping Florida in that game. He was fantastic. Now, I watched enough of him on TV this year where I was like, what is happening with this guy? I mean, I don't think he's ready to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think his ceiling may be as high as anybody in this draft. I would take Bryce Young. If I had my pick of all the quarterbacks in this draft, it's easy. It's a quick answer, Bryce Young. But I do worry about him holding up physically. You don't worry about something like that with Anthony Richardson. I mean, he could be a force at some point. So it's to me, Richardson is a great example of, if you believe that it's all going to come together for him, the ceiling's very high. Mm-hmm. Take him and you let him have a year, because he probably should play another year of college football. Mm-hmm. But look, if you're going to go in the first round, I think he will go somewhere in the first round. You go. So but I think that's the only quarterback scenario realistically that alters just Tannehill as a starter. Jared from Spring Hill. So did Vrabel just stop collaborating last year or something, or never been a collaborator? Why are they flooding us with that word? Does he not play well with others? He hired Downing. Well, first of all, the collaboration was a word that TD brought into it last segment, but it is. I mean, that's the thing with this coaching staff. It's like there are more cooks in the kitchen, right? So it's. I think it's a good thing to, even though your OC was internal. And so people don't like that, and he has a history with Vrabel. He is a guy who's had some success as OC. But regardless, the hires, London and Outen are hires of like OC candidates around the NFL who are now here, and basically some guys have been bumped down in the staff. There's just more people who are going to have a say. That doesn't necessarily mean it's good, but if you do actually collaborate, then that can be a positive for you. But as far as the collaborate, that word has mostly been thrown up by the Titans in terms of Rand Carthon and Mike
that's
Vrabel.
What I was about to say.
Right?
I feel like that was more of a John Robinson, Mike Vrabel thing, the collaboration versus the coaching staff.
And to me, I take some of that. First of all, I think some of that is because, Vrabel I do think is going to have final say on things. And so that's the answer to the question of who has it. It's going to be a collaboration. They genuinely do need to have a collaboration. Also, I do take it to some extent as a comment on how things went in the later stages with John Robinson and Mike Vrabel. And look, John Robinson, on his own, made some choices Mike Vrabel didn't agree with, and that went very poorly. So, so that to me is why that word is being thrown all over the place.
Yeah, and how many of these coaching hires, other than Tim Kelly being promoted from within, have ties to Vrabel? None, right? Or how many of these recent coaching hires have some sort of tie to Vrabel?
Well, Charles London does.
Okay.
They were in Houston together, so there is. But Justin Outen does not. Now it's interesting because. I don't think Matt LaFleur is going to go down as Mike Vrabel's favorite, coordinator or assistant coach in the 1 year they were together. And every time Vrabel talks about coaches who are out looking for a job rather than being focused on their work and stuff, I'm like, so is he just talking about LaFleur here? But this is a LaFleur guy out, and he was with him in Atlanta with Kyle Shanahan, and then. When LaFleur gets the job with Green Bay, he hires Outen to come in with him and be his tight ends coach. So there's a link, but it's interesting because I don't think of like LaFleur and Vrabel as really tight.
Yeah.
Even though they are technically, LaFleur is part of the Vrabel tree. So, but that is someone who he has not worked with before. That's a new, and I understand like Broncos fans would be like, did you watch our offense this year? But, he was not a play caller. He was not a play caller until Nathaniel Hackett got fired, at the end of that year. Mm-hmm. So, but for them, again, to me, it's a little bit too much of that is made of that, in my opinion. You're not, you're hiring people that you trust, but also that you believe are good because you've seen them work. You've worked with them. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you go around to any of these coaches in the NFL, there's a lot of that on their staffs. At some point, you lose people if you have success, and you have to go outside. You have to rely on the word of others and things like that. And you should be willing to go out and look for fresh ideas and things like that. Vrabel made a big deal of how he did that when he hired Tim Kelly. There was not much reporting on, actual interviews. So I don't know if it was absolutely a foregone conclusion or not with Tim Kelly, but I think a little bit too much is made of like Vrabel and his buddies as opposed to Vrabel hiring people he thinks are good. Todd Downing, I think, was a mistake by Vrabel, and that's fair to point out.
Naturally, when you're in a position where you can make choices about personnel, you're going to rely on people that you've worked with or know well. That happens in all walks of life. It's not just in sports. So, yeah, I think the idea of, Vrabel, not having outside voices, quote unquote. I agree with you. Might be a bit overblown, but I think I am, and this is not related to the coaching, but I am very interested to see how the relationship works with him and Rand Carthon, just because it feels like the Titans went out of their way to say these guys are going to work so well together, like peanut butter and chocolate, two great tastes that taste great together. While they made it seem like John Robinson and Mike Vrabel were like oil and water.
Yeah, and that's not true, But look, A.J. Brown, I think Vrabel made it very clear what he thought about that before that night, and we've seen how damaging that move was. All right, we come back. There were so many thoughts on the Preds. We are going to revisit that and continue to in the idea of solutions here moving forward, as it sounds like the Preds are getting closer to being sellers. Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Colton Sissons, and this is Smashville.
Feeds now Sissons coming onto the left circle, and Colton Sissons puts it in the net.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Get ready for the power of Godsmack on their new world tour. With special guest, I Prevail. May 23rd, First Bank Amphitheater. I'm telling you on my roof. Featuring songs from their new album, Lighting Up the Sky. Until this Friday, 10 a.m. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com.
This week at the Electronic Express President's Day sale, get instant savings of up to 40% off at every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't forget, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 36 months free financing. Shop the President's Day sales event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Actor portrayal.
Hi, I'm Diane, and my husband Jack has low testosterone.
Hi, I'm Jack. I knew something was wrong when I went from feeling energetic and youthful to tired all the time and not sleeping well, putting on belly fat, and my sex drive just dropped.
The fun, active Heartland lifestyle we always enjoyed was disappearing. Then our sex life declined, and eventually we just stopped.
I had to do something, so Diane and I went to the sexual health specialists at Tennessee Men's Clinic. We learned that nearly half of men over 50 suffer from ED and low testosterone.
It was refreshing to hear that one size doesn't fit all. They have a variety of therapies depending on age, medical condition, and lifestyle. He's back to the man I fell in love with.
My energy's back. Our intimacy is better than it's been in years. I can't thank Tennessee Men's Clinic enough.
Your first visit to the Tennessee Men's Clinic is only $99. They have multiple treatment options for low T and ED. Book your appointment today. Call 615-208-9090 or book online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Let me guess. Unknown caller? You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career and they talked to me about it.
He was done in just months.
I did do it online.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at My Computer Career.
It worked for me and I know it can work for you.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
On the Friday edition of Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, we'll recap Predators and their matchup with the Boston Bruins. All of that coming up from 11 to 2 on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Smashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, did you screw up Valentine's Day? Well, 102.5 The Game and Green Trees Company have your chance to make it up. Tune in to Chase and Michelle today for your last chance to win tickets to see Adam Sandler at Bridgestone Arena tonight, courtesy of Green Trees Company in Hendersonville. Also, Dave Matthews Band, I will be there, one way or the other. I will be there. May 26th at Bridgestone. Third caller. Tickets to Dave Matthews Band.
And the fourth caller can hear me sing to them, Dave Matthews, instead. By not winning the tickets, I'll sing Dave Matthews to you.
What's your favorite Dave Matthews song?
I don't know. They all sound the same.
I love Sweet Annie.
Absolute hater. Nice. Deep cut. I'm impressed, Michelle. Okay, well, Vingan, an absolute hater of Dave Matthews, but a lover of hockey, and you've given us a lot of Preds analysis today. Now, I have on Twitter here Dalton D. Glenn yelling at me about how I should rant about the ridiculously loud and awful music in Bridgestone. I don't know about that. You do sound like an old man. The bass is ridiculous. Friends in Low Places doesn't need a dubstep remake. Okay, I can kind of.
I did hear that last night, and I was like, "Am I hearing this right?"
Yeah, I can kind of get with you on that one, but for the most part, again, my only real problem is either Glorious Domination or Scott Stapp. You get rid of those things, we're good.
You know how I feel about your Scott Stapp slander.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. It's not, it's not. I'm not softening with my age on that one. It still makes my ears bleed just like it always did. Dalton also says getting rid of UC would be the dumbest thing we could possibly do. We saw it happen when we didn't have him last year. We get rid of him, you might as well blow up the entire team anyway.
That's the point.
Right. I mean, that's right, Dalton. That's the thing. We're talking about a rebuild. I mean, we're talking about how can you get assets, get younger, give yourself a chance to, basically, load up with more futures. And look, ideally, if you could have UC Saros and Yaroslav Askarov long term as a goalie tandem, my goodness, that would be awfully good. But this team is too deficient elsewhere. And what wins in the NHL? Hey, it's great to have a Vasilevsky, okay? But like you just said earlier in the show, Vingan, Darcy Kemper also just won a cup. It's offense that wins championships in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Agree, disagree?
It's offense?
Yeah, I mean, it's high-level, dominant
Yeah, I mean, I think
skaters.
there were, when the Los Angeles Kings won their 2 Stanley Cups in 2012 and 2014, those were defensive-minded teams with an elite goaltender in Jonathan Quick. Like, I think they were one of the worst offensive teams in the league, at least one of those years, maybe both, but they were fantastic defensively.
That was 9 years ago, though.
Yes, right. It's like, look at Colorado last season proved what it takes to win, the Stanley Cup, which is you do not need elite goaltending to win the Stanley Cup. I mean, Kemper was fine in the postseason, but I would say he was about average. He wasn't posting a .940 save percentage or anything like that in the postseason last year. But as we saw firsthand with the Predators in the first round, the Avalanche just, were domineering offensively. So Darcy Kemper had a .257 goals against average and .902 save percentage and 16 starts in the postseason, and they still won the Stanley Cup. Like, you don't need. I mean, it's great. Like you said, it's great to have a Vasilevsky or a Shesterkin or someone like that. To even though Shesterkin hasn't won the Stanley Cup, but a goalie of that caliber to win, it helps absolutely. But the Avalanche proved last season that you do not need that to win if you have an offense that can just railroad teams.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of like we go to the Super Bowl discussion.
Mm-hmm.
You won with Mahomes, so you could say, so that's the only way you can win is by having, that guy at quarterback, which of course is very hard to do, and very few teams have that guy. I mean, look, I watch that game and I say, one or two things goes the other way, including like Jalen Hurts just dropping the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And we're saying, see, you don't need that guy. You win it with a great team around a good quarterback, right? So, I mean, I still think both things can be true. I think when you have that guy, you're more likely to keep knocking on the door. So I don't like how much of the credit for the Lightning championships do you give to Vasilevsky?
They're just
great all the way around.
What's that guy's record and like how many shutouts does that guy have in series clinching games? 5 or 6, which is an NHL record. I mean, he's amazing. But the thing about that team is that even if he wasn't amazing, they'd still probably win. When you have Stamkos and Kucherov and Hedman and that
Point.
Point and Cirelli and that third line a couple of years ago of Gaudreau and Coleman and Gord, like they're and Sergachev. Like, look how many great players I'm naming other than Vasilevsky.
Right.
Like, he's great, and he played a huge role in that because no one could stop him. But even if he was slightly worse, they'd still probably win because they're just so deep.
I mean, I'd still say, like, there are different ways to do it. You know, we may see, I mean, like, Montreal got there, right?
Right.
With
Carey Price.
Yeah, I mean, like
during the bubble, right? No, that wasn't the bubble. Was it? That was the 56 game season. It was the 56 game season.
21.
Right. Yeah, it was the Stars in the bubble. It was the Canadians in the 56 game season.
So the reason I ask it because when we talk about what's the market, I mean, I still feel like there's plenty of teams out there that say, if you added that guy and we could make it work, how many more wins a year does that add? How much more of a chance does that give us in a tight series to have that guy in goal, right?
Right. Like I mentioned the Oilers earlier. And, Jack Campbell signed a big contract in the offseason coming over from Toronto, and he has not been good. And their other goalie, Stuart Skinner, who was actually an all-star. I think he was one of the all-stars that was voted in by the fans. But he was, has played well, overall. But neither of them are the caliber of UC Saros now. There's been a lot of reports that the Oilers are hot on Erik Karlsson, which would be interesting. Certainly won't help you defensively, like in terms of in your own end. But with the
he'll produce
with the Oilers, the best defense is a great offense because if you have the puck, you don't have to defend. But if they were to add a goalie of UC Saros caliber to that lineup with Draisaitl and McDavid and Zach Hyman and Evander Kane, I would have a hard time picking against the Oilers personally.
Can they make that work?
I mean, you would have to take some money back. You would probably be taking back a bad contract or two. But I remember asking David Poile at the end of last season, "Are you willing to take on bad contracts from other teams with your cap space in exchange for assets?" And he said no. I think I think the Predators need to consider that heavily.
But that was then when they had coming off a playoff appearance,
right.
And he was obviously going into ad in the offseason, which he did. And this is now.
Yes.
Those ads somehow have led to a worse team. Not saying the ads have led to the worst team. Niederreiter, I think McDonough has been solid for most of the season. Niederreiter was hot early, hasn't produced as much, but it's not their fault. But I'm just saying, on paper, that's why everybody picked them to not just get to the playoffs, but I think I picked them. Did I pick them second or third in the division? I mean, they're so. A year ago, how much talk did we hear from the Preds about expectations and how they exceeded them? That is the opposite discussion now. But I'm sure it won't be brought up by them.
No, not at all. But I think, as I said, if I'm looking at deadline moves that you can make that will not be as difficult as a potential Saros trade as we play armchair GM, I would move Dante Fabro, I would move Nino Niederreiter, and I would probably move Matthias Ekholm. Those are the three I can think off the top of my head. I can't imagine someone taking Duchesne or Johansson. Granlund is not having a good season. He doesn't have a lot of value, in my opinion. So those are the three I would start with personally.
See, and it's interesting too because if you make a move for Ekholm, if someone out there wants to make that deal, and certainly, I mean, Ekholm is the type of guy who, and this is why he was the most talked about Pred a couple years ago when we thought that they were headed toward a big sell before they went on this crazy run, which is right around this time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
20. What'd you say? 27
they went 20
and 1.
27 and 1. 2-0, not 27 and 1.
Right.
They went 27 and 28. 27 and 1.
Yeah,
if I recall correctly.
To get in the playoffs.
Yes, which is
exactly what they have to do right now. Yes. Basically,
I said earlier that they probably need to win somewhere between 18 and 20 of their final 30 games to make the playoffs.
Yeah, which I don't think they'll do. But again, at this time. 2 years ago, Ekholm was all we were talking about. What city? Where is he going to end up? Not
we were talking about Pekka Rinne too, because I think that was his last season, right? We were talking about would Pekka Rinne want to pull a Ray Bourque and go to a team and win a Stanley Cup, which obviously he didn't want to do and they didn't have to do. But Ekholm was, I talked to him about it at the time. Like he knew his name was out there. He was prepared for it. He was preparing his family for it. It didn't happen. But he was aware of it.
The difference, of course, is now you're taking on Ekholm at 6.25 AAV for the next 3 seasons if you deal for him.
I think the Predators are going to need to start retaining salary, which again is not something they've ever done, but they probably need to start doing it. Like if Ekholm at 3 years at 3 point something, I would, if I'm a contending team,
absolutely.
I'm jumping all over that.
All over it.
Yeah.
So lots of interesting days ahead with the Nashville Predators. I will say this, again, if they are able to turn around, and I'm not optimistic at all, I don't think it's going to happen, but if they are, think about the run 27-1, and then they gave Carolina all they wanted in that series. So they had found a level of play. They have to somehow find a consistent level of play to do that. We just haven't seen it this year. It's hard to imagine it happening. But when we come back, we will finish with Call Your Shot Friday. Robbie and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Your home for MTSU basketball is 94.9 The Fan.
3 ball, yes sir!
All the big shots and moments live here. MTSU basketball is on a station built for you. 94.9 The Fan.
It's Family Leisure's President's Day sale.
Wait, President's Day?
Well, it's in honor of all our presidents, and it means great deals for everyone.
Okay, like what?
Well, pools and spas for one. Family Leisure has the largest selection and guarantees the lowest prices anywhere, even compared to the internet.
What about grills and grill islands?
Of course, everything is on sale for 4 days at Family Leisure, even the smokers, grills, and grill islands. But I am more excited about the patio furniture. The new styles are arriving, and there are still great deals on the remaining floor models.
Wow! Great prices, great selection, and guaranteed lowest prices. Sounds like a great time to shop Family Leisure.
That's right, a 4-day only sale at Family Leisure, just in time for spring.
Family Leisure, both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines. Like waterfront property, more like a mosquito farm. Pride of ownership, they're really proud of the DIY job they did. Seller says sell. Really? I thought they just put it on the market for fun. My team at TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if it says don't let this one pass you by, it's probably on wheels. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
Signs First, Nashville's trusted vehicle wrap and graphics one-stop shop. From one-off custom applications to entire company fleets, Signs First delivers superior quality both locally and nationally. Since 1991, be creative, get noticed. Signs First. Go to sfnash.com.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
Bart Starr didn't play much his senior season at Alabama after a coaching change left most seniors on the bench. That didn't stop the Green Bay Packers from taking a chance on Starr, drafting him in the 17th round of the 1956 NFL Draft. The gamble paid off. Starr went on to a Hall of Fame career with 5 NFL championships, as well as winning the first 2 Super Bowls in NFL history, winning the MVP of both.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
When there's a chance for a championship trophy, you need to have the right people in the right positions. That's why when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 875 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to only the most qualified candidates, which means you can start hiring the right people faster. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Sometimes he gets lonely and needs some company.
10 for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company.
You've got real talent.
With Jared Stillman, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The sports weekend has arrived. You know what that means.
Shoot your shot.
It's time for Call Your Shot Friday with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time. Call Your Shot Friday to close out the show here on Robby and Rexrode. Adam Vingan in for Robby Stanley, but I'm going to read last week's shot, see how we did. Well, let's go with Robby. Robby said Ryan McDonough will score at Philly. That did not happen.
Wrong.
He said the Vols will take down Alabama in overtime. They did not need overtime. They did take down Alabama. Chris Jones, no sacks and no pressures in the Super Bowl. And you know what? Did he get that right? He definitely got the no sacks.
I think he might have.
I'll look that up while you keep reading.
Must have. He had pressures. But I like the shot. And MVS, his buddy from Green Bay, will score a 35-yard plus touchdown Super Bowl. That also didn't happen. Michelle, you got the long-term shot. SEC tournament won by Arkansas, so we're watching that one. Tennessee will beat Missouri by 10 or more. Buzzer beater loss. But on Wednesday, we'll lose to Alabama by 15 or more. Dominated them and won by 9. But at least, they
were like opposite kind of.
Yeah, just flip them around. A.J. Brown will be the leading receiver in the Super Bowl. He almost was. I think. Well, he had 6 for 96 and a touchdown. Devontae Smith had 100, I think.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit more.
And then Jalen Hurts will be the leading rusher in the Super Bowl. Actually, I think, didn't Pacheco have more than him?
Yeah, Pacheco, I would assume he had more.
Three touchdowns. He's still like the spirit of the shot was good. My called shots. Vanderbilt will follow this win up by winning at Florida. Liam Robbins with a double-double and 5+ blocks. I believe I got every dang thing right.
I think you
ding,
did.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, UT will beat Missouri and Alabama by a combined 25 points. Now, Preds will lose at Philadelphia, and Cole Smith will have the only goal. I did not have that right. That was the one good Preds, outcome here since the All-Star break. And I said A.J. Brown will have a TD catch of 75 yards on the first possession he hit. It wasn't that long, but he did have a long TD catch, so kind of close-ish.
We did goodish.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Compared to a lot of weeks, not bad. All right, Michelle, let's start with you. Call your shot.
Okay, I've got a couple today. First, I teased this in Best and Worst in Sports. A friend, Kevin Herter, he is going to be in the 3-point contest, so I'm calling that Kevin wins the 3-point contest for NBA All-Star Weekend, which is in, I think, Salt Lake City this year. So
yes.
Kevin wins that one. The Nashville Predators get shut out again at home by the Panthers tomorrow.
Wah, wah.
I know I need one of those little sound buttons. Okay.
That's it?
Kentucky beats Tennessee. That's all I'm saying. I don't know by how many. The game is tomorrow at noon. No one tweet at me.
Mm-hmm.
No one talk to me till
Everybody
Monday.
tweet and talk to Michelle.
I got thoughts on that.
I will mentally not be okay. Okay, and then finally to round it out, I've got Vanderbilt beats Auburn Saturday night, and Vanderbilt will not be playing on Wednesday of the SEC tournament.
Well, I think, I think there's a good chance of that.
I ran into Jim Wyatt at the golf or at a gas station. He's like, I'm just happy Vandy's not going to be playing on Wednesday.
I mean, the way they're going, especially if they win Saturday, they might. I mean, they be top 4 in the get the double bye. They might not be playing until Friday at this point. So, Adam Vingan.
Okay,
do you have some called shots for us?
One of mine is of the same is similar to Michelle, so I am going to call. Unfortunately for your friend Kevin Herter, I am going to say it's Dame time in the 3-point contest. Damian Lillard will win the NBA 3-point contest, and Mac McClung will win the slam dunk contest. So I have Damian Lillard in the 3-point shootout and Mac McClung in the slam dunk competition. A good field for the 3-point competition. Jason Tatum, Kevin Herter, Tyler Hero, Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Damian Lillard. I believe Julius Randle is in it.
That's wild.
And Lauri Markkanen. So a good field there.
Give me Buddy Hield.
All right, Buddy Hield. So there we go. All different picks. I'm going to say for the Predators, I will say they lose tomorrow to Florida, who's playing very well. They've won 5 of 7. The Panthers have. They will lose to Florida at home tomorrow to go 0-4 at home since the All-Star break, but they will win in Minnesota. So they will lose to the Panthers. I won't say a shutout like Michelle, but they will lose to the Panthers at home, but beat the Wild on the road.
Okay. All right.
Chase just called me a homer.
Oh, because you picked Kentucky?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you are a Kentucky homer. That's okay.
Yeah, but I don't cover them, so it's okay.
That's right. Well, I got a called shot. Tennessee will win at Kentucky. With no James playing, with no Phillips playing, no problem. Uros Plavsic, 15+.
I don't know why they don't use him more.
Yeah, I think it's a defensive thing. Adu was very good the other night, but, man, when he gets on the block, he's tough to stop. Vanderbilt will beat Auburn tomorrow night in front of the best crowd in that building since 2019 when number 1 Tennessee came in and it went to overtime. Liam Robbins, 25, 10, and 5 blocks. So similar to the college. He is absolutely on a heater. He is making himself money, and he's one of the best big men playing college basketball right now. The Phoenix Suns and Kevin Durant will lose in the first round of the playoffs. That's my called shot. Remember that now. Remember that now, folks. Or remember that then. And for the Preds, Matthias Ekholm will be traded by the deadline. Dante Fabro will not be traded. So Ekholm out, Fabro still here when it's all said and done.
Interesting.
Yeah. And one thing on that, if you think about it, like if they do move Ekholm, like you could make the case that it's worth a qualifying offer, to keep Fabro and Carrier, but we'll see. Nate says, I think the Vols beating Kentucky is more of a shot than Kentucky beating the Vols. What is the line on that, by the way?
I will look it up right now for you. Give me 1 second.
I don't know about that. I mean, I know Kentucky's at home, and Tennessee
I think it's a shot either way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting game, a good game. I like Tennessee. I do. John says if Kentucky wins, Robby should have to eat an olive or maybe a plum. Has anybody, by the way, from my plum rant gotten into plums? Vingan, do you like plums?
I don't eat plums. Like, I don't think I'm opposed to them, but it's not something I eat.
I'm really trying to increase plum awareness, so I may have to bring that up.
Okay.
Bring that up again. Final thoughts, Adam Vingan, Nashville Predators. We've had a lot of conversation today. Jared Stillman, Preds fan from the time they got here, he says he is actively rooting against them to make the playoffs. Do you find this, I guess, acceptable for fans to root for their team to lose and not make the postseason when they have an opportunity to make a postseason?
I think that if fans truly believe that their team losing will be better for them in the long term, I have absolutely zero issue with Predators fans hoping that this team misses the playoffs.
Do you agree with that? Do you think it will be better for them in the long term?
Yes, I do.
Because you think that there will be actual significant changes?
Yes. Yes. I said at the end of last season that the Predators would not get better until they allowed themselves to get worse. And I stand by that.
All right. There we go. That's our show. Thanks so much, Adam Vingan, Michelle Knanzevit, and, of course, Chase and Michelle coming up next. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You love the game.